boxed up. Can he find an opening? No, he's going to have to push his way through.
Now he's going to go for that big run again.
3 wide going into turns.
High line, right off the corner.
Oh, man.
He's up to 4th place already.
They're still going to be side by side.
And he's going to have to back out. Oh, he gets help. He gets turned around in a big moment.
The weather in Daytona Beach might be as clear as the night has fallen, but the rolling thunder approaches at the 2.5-mile World Center of Racing. We're live from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. We welcome you to the Admin Box 250 with our coverage on the Global SimRacing Channel. Welcome to our broadcast on GSRC. We're alongside Joey Atterbury in the broadcast booth. My name is Kenneth Bueno. Our director behind the scenes, Ryan Bauer. He'll be producing all night long. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. Tonight is a money race for the top 4 will get a cash prize. Any drivers looking out there to join a competitive but fun Gen 4 Series league, you can look no further than the Rolling Thunder Racing Series. It'll fire its engines right here at Daytona International Speedway beginning on October 1st. If you want to learn more on how to sign up, visit rollingthunderracingseries.com. We've got a great race building here from the Daytona International Speedway, but before we jump to the details of what we should expect for tonight's event, let's jump into our track guide of how to get around this famed 2.5-mile superspeedway.
Welcome to Daytona International Speedway. This track began life after Bill France Sr. realized the Daytona Beach road course had outgrown itself. With ambitious plans and the blessing of the city officials, he built what would become the very first superspeedway in NASCAR history. At 2.5 miles and with 31 degrees of banking, stock cars easily reach speeds of around 200 miles per hour. Pretty much every car can take the course flat out. This makes for one of the most unique styles of racing motorsports has ever seen. The slipstream allows drivers to stay with one another so easily that it becomes less about the speeds each driver can reach and more about the strategy of racing in a pack. Bump drafting is a technique in which the car behind actually pushes the car in front so that both are able to reach higher speeds. And side drafting is another in which the drivers use the air off the sides of their cars to slow their opponents down. Staying out of trouble is always a difficult aspect of superspeedway racing, and it's not uncommon to see drivers intentionally move to the back of the pack to avoid the chaos. In fact, the high speeds make large wrecks so hard to avoid that the term "the big one" has become commonplace to refer to the almost inevitable multi-car pileups the circuit is known for. Also, entering pit lane is its own skill, which requires practice in order to slow the car up as quickly and safely as possible. Keeping the car clean and in contention is the main goal for much of the event. Then the final few laps, it's a race to the line, with any alliances usually dissolving and the driver's urge to win taking over. With it being home to one of the world's most famous races, the Daytona 500, fans from around the globe flock to this landmark circuit. Just like the cars on it, the Daytona International Speedway shows no signs of slowing down.
Nothing quite like racing here at Daytona Beach, Florida. Let's bring in our other member of the broadcast booth, Joey Atterbury, to bring us around this super speedway. Joey, this track is big. This track has a lot of banking, but it's so much fun when you put a bunch of cars out there.
Especially the cars we are racing here tonight, but get a look of this 2.5 mile super speedway. 31 degrees in the corners here. It is that tri-oval layout, and something to note here at Daytona, the rules tonight, you cannot go below the yellow line, so cannot go down on the apron to advance your position. Gonna probably see some big blocks be thrown out here tonight, but with these cars, I'm expecting 2 wide consistently. 3 wide, 4 wide is definitely even possible.
And chaos can easily unravel at a track this big and as fast as it is. It's a legendary circuit to host this Admin Box 250. Let's get you through the race analysis for tonight's event from Daytona Beach. We go 100 laps, a total of 250 miles. We do race with the NASCAR Gen 4 cars, as this Rolling Thunder series does. These cars have a bunch of power beneath the hood, not as much downforce. This car introduced a couple of months ago on the iRacing service as a mistake at first, but a beloved car for all the sim racers on the service. There are fixed setups across the board, so nobody can really tweak anything on the setups with these race cars. You do have 1 spare repair for these race cars, so if you do get into an incident, if you take it down pit road, 2.5 seconds, you'll get a clean race car. Everything will be set. These drivers also have 3 total tire sets, but only 2 out on the racetrack after the drop of the green flag. So they start on a set of tires, then they can only get 2 through the entire race, and we do have 2 green-white checkered attempts to extend this race past its distance if we need it. Now, qualifying has just begun at around 4.5 minutes, and we're watching some of the drivers going to take their laps here at the Super Speedway. And here is one of them already on track now. This is Matthew Dula in his number 17 Chevrolet. And Joey, this is a very interesting lap, because you're usually flat out all the way through, and while it might seem easy, there are many complicated details to make a fast lap happen here.
It is quite interesting, and when you have such a simple lap, you have to maximize all of those little details, and it is a 5-minute qualifying session, so what we're watching right now is the outlap. Matthew Dula just got out onto the racetrack, so he's going to take the line all the way up along the wall, also known as the longest way around the racetrack. What that does, it helps build the top speed, and now when he goes to take the green flag, he'll start on his racing line.
You see him on the outside, all to build momentum, and then he's going to slowly drift down to that double yellow line. Now, of course, these drivers do have 2 laps in qualifying, so we probably will see an outlap and this lap be ran on the outside groove before he officially goes down to that double yellow line, but he should be one of the drivers first to set a time in qualifying. So Joey, at least in some cases, setting the tone for how the other drivers can put in a better time. And when you only have 3.5 minutes left, you do have to do a lot of work in a rather short time, as there's another car out on track right now. And I love the Chevrolet decals on this Crush car.
Yeah, a little bit of a modern look on an older body. Always love to see the designs of the schemes that these competitors come out with. Lots of creativity, no matter what series you're going to run into here in iRacing. And yeah, Kenneth, you are right. You know, I goofed a little bit. You're right. The first lap, you're going to run it all the way along the wall. Pretty much think of it like a slot car. You want to build up that momentum as much as you can.
You definitely do, and you're watching some more drivers in qualifying as they're going through. Looks like top of the board going to Justin Rideout in car number 1. So immediately with the fastest time at a 48.294. We are watching the 39, that Crush car that I mentioned. This is Luke Smith, his first lap at a 49 flat. But again, mentioning that a lot of drivers are taking their second lap now, and that should be way faster as the line is a little bit tighter. So the Crush car will come across the start-finish line at the tri-oval, and this lap definitely faster, 48.187. Not enough to beat the 71, or rather the 17 of Matthew Dula, as here is Cam Barnes out on the track. This is, I think, the only Mustang, Joey, in the field.
I'm going to see a few different schemes out there, but yeah, I love the Mustang. We saw the Camaro as well. Wonder what else we're going to see here tonight, and right on board with Easley as he goes down the back straightaway in this monster themed. I believe this is another Camaro out here.
Yeah, it's another Camaro. I have to say, full bias as a Camaro supporter and somebody who drives a Camaro on a daily basis. I love that car. So anytime I see the decals, I'm certainly jumping out of my chair. But here comes the 22, Robert Easley. This is his first lap, 48.984. So he surely will have a faster one as he hugs the bottom end of the speedway. And Joey, I mean, again, it seems rather easy when you're by yourself in qualifying. You do have to take note of the lines you run to gain certain time and to gain speed, but as soon as you get out on track with everybody around you, it becomes a very different story, and it becomes a lot scarier, as here's Michael Larch out on track.
And to talk a little bit more about qualifying, since we got another minute left, those little things that you are mentioning, you want to stay down below, or I shouldn't say below, but right on the yellow line. You don't want to waver too much with the steering wheel. You want to keep it as smooth and consistent as possible. The more inputs you give to the car, the more you're going to bleed speed.
Well, here's a GSRC car. So Michael Larch already repping us at Global SimRacing Channel, so we'll hope for a good lap for him. His first one was a 48.622, but this is his second time. He is 15th on the charts as it stands. But of course, on the back straightaway, should be looking at a better lap, and we'll see if he can top Ryan Johnson's 48th lap. That seems to be the only driver in the 48 flat bracket. Everybody else at 48.1 or slower, as here comes the 2-car out of turn 4, getting all the way down to the apron, trying to get as much time as possible. You can't do that in the race, but Joey Atterbury, that's a qualifying time, and that's the top of the board, 48.084.
I know we're not supposed to be biased, but love seeing GSRC on top.
I think they were calling us in that one. They knew we were covering, and he said, I need to put in a heater. So qualifying has just ended. Everyone just put in their qualifying times, and now we head over through at least a 5 or so minute warm-up. So we'll try and burn that time before we drop the green flag for the 100 laps set here from Daytona. Let's talk a little bit more, Joey, about these Gen 4 cars. They have so much power, and when iRacing introduced them, it wasn't intentional. They did it in a patch, and the ARCA car, which has a good amount of power, but not as much power as this one that we see now, it got added all that power. People found out on the sim. They all started driving it. They exclaimed just how much they loved it. They begged iRacing to keep it, and iRacing listened. They made their own official series for it, and this car has been a beloved one by all the sim racing people on the sim for a while now, ever since it's been created. And these guys at the Rolling Thunder series, they have certainly embraced this car and all of its difficulty and all of its fun. And I guess here at Daytona, although it's a flat-out super speedway, still a challenge to drive.
It's almost like you have this beloved car that everyone loves to race. No matter what is going on, you have a huge fan base, and then all of a sudden you wake up one morning, go out to the garage, turn it on, and all of a sudden it's got a few more ponies under the hood, and you're like, yeah, all right, I'll take this. And all of a sudden the car just became alive even more. People started flocking to it, and you're right, all of a sudden iRacing kind of had a happy little accident on their hand.
Kind of like Bob Ross. There's no such thing as a type of failure. Everything is a happy little accident. That's for sure.
Exactly.
As some drivers are on pit road, this is the warm-up time, so I'm not sure anyone's really on track. This is Bo Tiffany in the 35. The only other car in their pit stall is Dean Gagliano in the number 18 car, but none of these drivers are out on track. So we may just anticipate that the race control admins will advance to the actual race session and get us out on the starting grid. I would kill to have immediate horsepower on my daily driver overnight. I would.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what happened. It wasn't supposed to be, but you know what? Just some patch notes or something got mixed up, and everybody is loving the car that we see right here. It's just got more horsepower. There's nothing really changed about it, and it's still equipment that fits in the car. This is a tube frame car, so pretty much just plop the new engine in it, keep everything else the same, and you have a lot more attitude, a lot more character underneath the car now.
Yeah, that's true. It's sort of a throwback to the Gen 4 era in NASCAR, just as it's called, the Gen 4 car in the sim. It goes back to those early 2000s, somewhat mid 2000s, before they introduced the COT, Twisted Sister bodies. It's such a fun car to drive. And if you're interested in racing a Gen 4 series league and you're trying to look for a group to race with, again, a reminder that Rolling Thunder Racing Series fires its engines right here at Daytona. That begins October 1st when the season is at its beginning. So you can go to rollingthunderracingseries.com and sign up today to find out more and have a bit of fun as the fall approaches us. We're slowly getting to the end of the summer season here in late July. So we're in the final minute and a half here of warm-up. We're just watching some of the cars that are sitting on pit road. We're just gonna wait, but I'm really surprised, Joey. We're not seeing more cars just go out there and try to put in some laps for fun.
I think that here at Daytona, it's all about the nerves right now, and there's not a whole lot you can do after qualifying. Sure, you can go out there and run laps, but you've already ran a million laps at this place. You just got done by yourself on the racetrack. It's time to get in that zone, load up the race setup, make sure you're still not on that quali setup, and make sure you're using all of the fuel tank.
Yeah, you want to make sure you got everything dialed in, and nothing comes close to the anticipation and some of the anxiety too that you end up facing when you're sitting on the grid, or even here in warm-up where nobody's putting in laps. You're just kind of chilling and waiting for the moment to strike when that green flag drops and you just unleash what's going to be the 100 laps here from Daytona Beach. Well, frankly, there is one car out on the track, and we will see who that is. That is Spencer Brown in the 88, so I guess he's the only one that really wants to put in at least a lap or so here, but he does have around half a minute, 30 seconds to get this lap, so I guess he'll just roll through the gears, practice this exit out of pit road, which should come in handy, Joey. If we got a 100 lap race, around 14, 15 drivers, if it stays green, we're going to end up in strategy somehow.
Absolutely. We didn't really talk too much about that, but the pit window between 35 to 45 laps. So yeah, if we do stay green, we will have a couple pit stops on our hands. So yeah, got to practice both getting into and off of pit road.
So final seconds tick down in warm-up, and it looks like we will head down to the starting grid and give you the lineup for tonight's Admin Box 250 for the Rolling Thunder Racing Series. Michael Larch with the fastest time in queue at a 48.084. He's got the top spot. He is joined by the number 28, or the 38 rather, of Ryan Johnson with a 48.097, rounding out row number 1. Dean Gagliano, the number 18 car, is third place, and in fourth will be the 35 of Bo Tiffany. That closes out row number 2. This is Justin Rideout in the number 1 machine. Is going to be inside the top 5. Matthew Dula in the 17. We saw him first out in qualifying. He sets a lap good enough for P6. That's row number 3. Robert Easley in the 22 is 7th. 8th place on the outside of row 4 goes to Joshua Suss in the 14. Michael Gitchell in the number 48 is 9th. And rounding out the top 10 is Cam Barnes in the 7th.
We do have a few more here. David E. Duke in 11th. Luke Smith sharing row number 6 with him. Then we have Spencer Brown in the 13th position. Jason Tammer in 14th. Ryan Perrone 15th. And then the last car, Jake Bustos in 16th. That is going to be the total of our grid here today.
Jake Bustos did not put a time in qualifying, hence why he's at the back of the field. Here are the track conditions from Daytona International Speedway. Air temp at 67 degrees, complete opposite of what it usually is at this time of year in real life Daytona. Track temp at 69 degrees, so a rather nice and cool evening here in Florida. Winds to the northeast at around 6 to 7 miles an hour, humidity at 57%, and it is a partly cloudy evening just past. This looks to be 10 o'clock in Sim, so rather late in the night here at Daytona, Joey, but it's a beautiful night to go racing. And while we only have 16 cars in this grid, it doesn't seem like much. When you get them all rolling, you got a 100-lap race, especially where the top 4 earn cash prizes. I think these guys are going to put it all on the line, have their elbows out.
You are taking the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, it's a little late. We got cash prizes on the line. What's going to happen here? No matter what, we're going to see 100 laps at Daytona in the night. That means these cars are going to be fast. We're going to have a lot of bump drafting. Are we going to see aggression early? Are we going to see him play it safe early? What is going to happen out on the racetrack? It's all in the hands of these drivers.
Well, remember, double yellow line rule. You can't pass down there. Progression gets it ending up being a little too much. We may end up seeing potential passes down there, but we know drivers are going to abide by the rules, but they're going to be as insane as possible when it comes down to going for the race win. Joey, your quick thoughts before we get the green flag for the Admin Box 250.
You gotta be patient. Right now, you have to make it through at least the first half of the race before you even consider wanting to use your faster pair. So that means patience. Take a deep breath out there.
Well, the drivers are taking a deep breath, and they're going to let out a sigh of relief that the pace truck will make that left to pit road, and they can finally focus on getting the win in this Admin Box 250. The Rolling Thunder Racing Series kicks off this race here from Daytona, and it'll be Michael Larch in the 2, the 38 of Ryan Johnson, to keep us on the front row for the green flag tonight into the restart zone for the first time. And to Barney, the flagman, we're underway from Daytona. Upwards of 195 miles an hour going through this first lap. Now the field at full song in a battle for the lead. Bo Tiffany in the 35 finds his way underneath Ryan Johnson, and they are all gridlocked into turns 1 and 2 for the second time.
I was really impressed at the run that the number 35 of Bo Tiffany was able to make once it got down to the bottom groove. Got a little bit of surge of speed to go ahead and lead that lap, but you see here, Ryan Johnson getting a big push on the outside.
He's going to stay even with the 35, with the better run on the inside. Will give way to Tiffany's machine for a moment. But here comes Johnson again with a move on the outside. A little more cars on the bottom end of the speedway, but it seems like most of it seems to be even right now. So the drivers all the way at the back of the field, Spencer Brown, Jake Bustos, they have sort of lagged back, just waiting for the field up front to tell them what's happening as the fastest lap gets set by Ryan Perrone in the number 50 machine, sitting back in 14th all the way in the draft as you look on board through the midfield, and as Bo Tiffany continues to maintain control of the race.
And I'm looking at the entirety of the field right now, actually very well-mannered from these racers. I love what I'm seeing. You know you got to do 100 laps at Daytona. That is no small feat. You got to start logging some at some point.
Yeah, you really got to be careful as well, because these drivers know what the reward is if they either end up first, second, third, or fourth. You do get a minimum of $50 if you finish in fourth, and upwards of $300 if you win this race. So these drivers know only lap 4, really long outing. They're going to be here for a while. They want to make sure they keep it as clean as possible. Car in the wall, though, that is Cam Barnes into 7 machine. Caught it just a bit, now finally ripped away from the grasp of the safer barrier, but drops all the way to 16th. And Joey, that's tough. He's going to lose the draft.
Yeah, it is tough for that number 7 machine, but also look at what it did to that top line. Cam Barnes was way up there. I believe he was 3rd in line in that top groove, but now that they lost that car in there, it really broke up the momentum, and this bottom lane has all of it right now.
Yeah, it looks like nobody in the outside wants to go. That is Jason Rideout in his number 1 machine on the outside P4. Looks like he's the only one that wants to make a move up there. Now he will find the help. So the 38 of Ryan Johnson is back at it on the rear bumper. As here's to look on board with the Harris machine. This is David Duke, and Joey, we saw him in practice just sort of chilling in turn 3 on the apron grass. I guess just watching the action or just chilling out there. Not sure that he didn't tow it to pit road, but the Harris Dodge already up inside the top 10. And again, Joey, like you said, more drivers on the inside, and they seem to be rolling quite good.
Well, whenever I see a driver parked out there on the infield or in the grass somewhere, I just think maybe it's getting inspired by Fernando Alonso.
That's true, 100%. As Rideout continues to hold on to the outside. Ryan Johnson there just behind him. And we're watching some pushes here early, Joey, but you do have to be careful because you look at the back bumper of these Gen 4 cars, look at the front bumper like you can see here off the back end of Tiffany's car, and then right here on the front end of Larch's car, looking at Tiffany's rear bumper, they are not lined up. Unlike the next gens, the Xfinity cars, and most other stock cars in the sim, Joey, they're usually lined up, but these aren't. So you really have to be careful about how hard you push and where you push to, the angle.
And speaking of bump drafting, that means when you line up those pushes, try to push in a straight line. Here in the tri-oval, the car is actually very light. You don't have as much banking as you do in turns 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. So lots of times the tri-oval can be a danger area when you're not expecting it.
Yeah, that's true. And usually the motto at super speedways is never push in the middle of the corner, because you know that the driver in front of you can get unsettled. You can end up with a faulty push. And some drivers think about that when they're in turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, and then by the time they get to the tri-oval, it's sort of like they forget, and then that could cause some of the incidents that happen on the 18 degrees of banking. So here's a look at the number 39. This is Luke Smith hanging around 11th place, and right behind the number 50 car of Ryan Perron, who has set some of the fastest laps so far this evening over the first now 8 laps here at Daytona International Speedway, and almost a bit of 3-wide action. But again, Joey, everybody wants to maintain calm early on as Bo Tiffany holds on to the lead.
I'm very impressed. A lot of times you see these super speedway races get a little hectic early on. Everybody's anxious to get racing, and right now the field very, very well mannered. And I think the most aggressive part is probably the front 4 cars. They're just trying to get clean air, but after that, it's usually spaced out pretty nicely.
And they're 3 wide for a moment there. Matthew Dula, I think, got shuffled out of line. That was the 81 of Jason Tamer, the Taco Bell Chevrolet, to move in on the inside. And Joey, I gotta love the schemes that we're seeing here tonight. A lot of throwback ones, and I'm seeing a lot of tosses to the DEI days. That Taco Bell car on the top, 3rd in line. You look at the Oreo car, that's 2nd in line on the outside, and Ryan Johnson. All of these drivers are bearing, some of them are throwback schemes, and you got a lot of Dale Jr. DEI representation on the top.
Well, yeah, Oreo Bot out there racing up on the top lane. He is proving himself not only as a transformer, but a race car.
And you look at Larch as he stays down there right behind Bo Tiffany. And man, these drivers are just staying gridlocked. No movement really at the front of the field other than Dula getting pushed back in the line. Update on Cam Barnes. He has fallen significantly from this main pack. 16th place is around 18.5 seconds back off of the next car in line. Jake Bustos is that green car at the back of the frame going into turn 1. Car number 74. Maybe a move here up the track. Looks like Ryan Johnson. Not sure if he backed out of line there, but here comes Dean Gagliano and Jason Tamer to make it 3 wide on the inside.
Well, you were calling 3 wide just a lap ago, and 3 and 4 in there. Another moment of 3 wide, but very handled well from all of the drivers out there. It was this time the 38 of Ryan Johnson giving up a little bit of position, but you're right, Jason Tamer starting to try to get the momentum back. It's been all Jason Rideout up front trying to get that top lane going.
It's methodical, but Tamer is slowly picking up positions up there, whether it's just catching these drivers off guard when they get a little bit out of line. He goes to the inside, and obviously the drivers in front, they know they don't want to risk a block this early on in the race, so they let the 81 have it. And so Tamer is starting to become a force to be reckoned with. That Taco Bell Chevrolet, gotta watch him. Now 2nd car on the outside, a bit of a wobble there down low. That was Dean Gagliano there in the 18. I think had a moment, Joey, out of turn 2.
Well, I think it was the bump gone wrong. You were mentioning how these front bumpers and back bumpers, they don't line up very well. Well, I think Dane Gagliano was getting a push. It didn't line up with his back bumper very well. Thankfully, he was able to recover the car.
We talked about pushing in the middle of the corner, but that was pushing right off of the exit of the corner, and just a little bit of misalignment pushed the number 18 out of line, but he saved the race car, so he continues to be that 3rd car all the way on the inside, that Caterpillar Chevrolet down there. And you see the entire field go through turns 1 and 2. Again, rather clean. This field is at lap number 12. And these drivers can go around 35 to 45 laps on a green flag stint, with the fuel load at 75% over this 100-lap race. So it should be a little while if we stay green for these drivers to end up coming in. As you look at the move up top, that is Michael Gitchell in the number 48. He started this race in 9th, and that's where he is, coming to the start-finish line in that bright red Chevrolet. I'm not sure whether this is a Lightning McQueen-inspired paint scheme, Joey, but it surely looks like one.
I'm not sure what scheme this is, but it looks like it's a modern Camaro scheme out there, which I know that you are a big fan of, although the taillights don't match the headlights on this thing. And I was going to say, with this bump drafting, they're doing a very good job at it. They're staying very calm about it. I think when you have the cars that go 3 or 4 wide in the, or I shouldn't say, but in 3 or 4 car trains, that is when sometimes things can become a little bit more of a problem.
And then we turn it over to the conversation of the checkups, right? We haven't seen that much of it here so far over the first 13 laps, but it is impossible to avoid at a track like Daytona or Talladega. You have lines that have so many cars in them. Somebody checks up because they don't want to run over the car in front of them. You have a big checkup, drivers end up slowing down, and a lot of that can create the issues. And when you couple that with the misaligning rear bumpers, then it becomes, like you said, Joey, a very, very big problem. But fortunately, we have not encountered that so far early on in this race. I am seeing, though, the back end of this field, Robert Easley, Spencer Brown, Jake Bustos, Joey, they're starting to fall back a bit. Not surprised to see them hanging back here. They want to avoid the chaos, but you also just want to keep a balance between being back here enough to avoid everything in front, but also not losing the draft that keeps you with the pack in the first place.
Now, this is a different strategy. Spencer Brown, what he's doing is he's just kind of hanging on to the very back end of the draft. He wants to know if there's going to be a problem. He wants to have the time to avoid any accidents out on the racetrack. And you see him closing it up a little bit, but I don't think you're going to see Spencer Brown go up there and try to make any moves. He's just trying to stay in touch with the bubble of air.
You know, probably not. And this turns to the question that I'll give you, Joey. If you're a driver to super speedway, like in this race, let's say around 15, 16 cars, would you rather avoid the chaos at the front, or would you rather avoid the chaos by being in a position like Spencer Brown back in 15?
It's a tough one. I think that if you qualified up front, you're going to fight for your life to keep that track position because you don't want to be in the middle scrum where that accident happens. But if you qualify near the back, you got to think of alternate methods to try to get to the lead. And maybe that strategy is, well, everybody's going to wreck. I might as well let them go do it and just drive right on around it.
And if they make that right call, they're just excited and they just can't hide it. You're right on board with the number 39 machine, Luke Smith, still on the inside lane. So this is one of the Camaros that does have headlights and taillights on this crush machine. So I guess that they did get it right. But the 39 car we saw him out in qualifying, beautiful scheme under the lights here at Daytona, and Smith right behind the number 50 of Ryan Perrone, who has slowly picked up position. He was all the way at the back of the field, started in 15th, and now up to 9th, so good stuff.
I do love me a good orange crush, and look at this, our front four maybe starting to get a little bit more aggressive. Lap number 17, that means their cars are right about halfway through their fuel stint right now. It's pretty much as good as they're going to get. It's going to be downhill from here in terms of the overall grip.
And you look at Ryan Johnson there, all the way at the top of the racetrack, just let the number 78 of David Duke just take that spot away. He's up to 6. He'll get the draft off of the 81 of Jason Tamer, and we'll see if he makes a move. He does not have help until now in the form of the number 48 of Michael Gitchell, who has certainly picked up positions as well since the drop of the green flag. With more cars on the outside, at least in organization, they're going to help the number 1 car of Justin Rideout get to the race lead. Bo Tiffany struggling just a little bit with only 4 cars down there.
It was a very interesting move from that number 48 of Michael Gitchell. I feel like he kind of swung the pendulum in favor of this top groove. Usually in draft racing, the more organized you can have a train, the more cars you can have it, the more well organized, the better off you are. Right now, our top lane a little bit more organized than the bottom.
It looks like they're all a little more friendly with each other, and they're starting to push the issue. That inside is still hanging tough. Bo Tiffany has not given up quite yet. He will take the lead once again out of turn 4. They are approaching the car that will be the first to go a lap down. This is Cam Barnes in the 7. Did get the outside wall. Took a little while to get off of the wall, and the entire field went by. Lost the draft, and now in position to be put a lap down. This is not good news if you're Barnes here, because you had just a misfortune. And now, all of a sudden, you're being put a lap down. You're going to have to hope for a caution, get a wave around, and the field does a pretty nice job of getting around, although it's really close.
I think the 7 is kind of hoping right now that he can stay in this draft of the lead pack, because even though he is 1 lap down, we do have the lucky dog out here, so the race is not over for Cam Barnes.
That's true, and the race is not over for the lead, because Jason Tamer made a move on the inside on the back straightaway, but did not get the help until Bo Tiffany got there at the exit of turn 4. So make that the first 2 cars. Justin Rideout and David Duke in the race lead by a clear margin, and Michael Gitchell fails to find any help on the outside and loses out on the battle for 3rd.
And most interesting, I see right out go down to the bottom of the racetrack. David Duke followed him down there. So those two cars, they were using the top lane. Now they've gone to the bottom.
And here's the 35. He'll get help from the number 2, Michael Larch. These two have been practically inseparable since the drop of the green flag in this race. And over the first quarter of this Admin Box 250 from Daytona, they're looking back. And they want a shot at clean air and no fighting for the lead. The 35 will have the advantage coming out of the tri-oval and no response out of Rideout. He falls back quite a bit. Duke will not give him the help. Larch and Tiffany move down low and they're back in control of tonight's race from Daytona.
I've been noticing Michael Larch is one of the more aggressive pushers in the field, and he just pushed Bo Tiffany straight to the front of the field, got off of him through the corner like we talked about. But here we go, Rideout again with a big momentum shift. He's going to go to the top lane, but here we go. Now it's Michael Larch. He's going to get hooked up to the bumper of Tiffany, start to push down that bottom lane.
Rideout and Tamer split the difference there on the 78 of David Duke, and they're back on the top. So I guess a mirror image of what we saw a little bit ago before they started moving around for position. Top 2 on the bottom, Larch and Tiffany. Top 2 on the top. Looks like Rideout and Tamer. They have not changed at all, but it's showing you, Joey, just how good these drivers are at working with each other. Oftentimes in super speedways, you don't see duos that really are very cohesive in the way they push each other, very cohesive in their strategy up at the front of the field. And when you see it, it is definitely something to marvel at how good they are at controlling their race cars, despite being at 195 miles an hour, almost 200, and then seeing what they can do when they start to get some threats, when drivers start to make moves around them.
And right now, Michael Larch is doing a fantastic job just trying to stay hooked up in that bottom groove. And looking at the race as a whole here, Kenneth, I'm noticing Rideout and Tiffany, they both want to be out front in clean air, trying to control this race. Rideout used the top lane. He went down to the bottom groove. Then he got shuffled back a little bit, used the draft to get back up to the front. And the same thing with Bo Tiffany. They both want that clean air controlling the race.
They do, but they also don't want an incident. They've done a nice job of keeping it away from each other and making contact, so they've been rather clean despite the moves that we've seen through the first 23 laps of this race. And Joey, I gotta ask you, as we continue to move forward, and there's almost a bit of contact there between Tamer and Rideout going into the trial for the start-finish line, what does it take to run like this, so closely packed here at Daytona, while still keeping your cool, making sure you don't fall out of line and make a crucial mistake?
Concentration and just being calm. The more comfortable you are with the situation, the more you can handle everything going on around you. And sometimes that just takes deep breaths, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes out there, as my dad would say, and just be okay with what's going on around you.
Well, you don't want to wiggle your fingers in the middle of the turn. You probably get into another car and cause an incident. But yeah, you're right. You do have to keep the concentration, be very relaxed, which is something that's hard for me to do in the same, arguably, when I'm on super speedways. I get very scared. We are 3 wide. That was in that trial where David Duke looked underneath Michael Larch and got the door shut. Larch almost about made the contact with the right front of the 78, and that could have been disastrous, but luckily they keep it clean.
And the person who benefited is Michael Gitchell in that 48, this red 48 right in front of David Duke. I saw it as well. I thought David was poking his nose down in somewhere that he maybe shouldn't have, but hey, the lane was open.
Yeah, it was, and Larch certainly didn't want that number 78 to take it. And remember, you cannot make passes on the double yellow line. That rule is instated here in tonight's Admin Box 250. So Duke was not going to make that pass if he was forced down there. He didn't want to risk being penalized by race control. We are still 2 wide. For the race lead, top 10 is as follows. Bo Tiffany, the race leader. Michael Larch moved into second. Third place to Justin Rideout. Michael Gitchell has just taken over fourth. Jason Tamer inside the top 5. And behind them, it is 6th place to 78 of David Duke. Ryan Johnson in 7th. 8th place to Luke Smith. 9th, Dean Gagliano in the 18. And Ryan Perome in that white and green, number 50. Currently rounding out the top 10. Cam Barnes' lap car is in between this top 10, just hanging on to the draft. And as we get to lap number 27, Joey, we are approaching the fuel window. They gave us the information before the race. They said it was about 35 to 45 laps estimated on a 75% fuel load. So in a little bit, as these drivers continue to run green flag laps, we might see things change in the complexity of the field just because they have to come down at some point.
And let's talk about that a little bit, because things have seemed to calm down just a little bit on the racetrack, and these in-laps and out-laps, they are crucial. Whether you pit early or pit late, the grip from the tires isn't necessarily what's going to get you the positions on the racetrack, but more that organization getting into and off of pit road. How many friends are you going to be with out on the racetrack when you come back out?
Yeah, 150%. If you're all by yourself, you're probably going to not have a good time for the rest of the race. You're going to have to hope for a caution. But then it also comes up because you think about these drivers who have worked so well together. Is Bo Tiffany going to come in with Michael Larch? Is Jason Tamer going to come in with Justin Rideout and Ryan Johnson? Are they all going to plan a team strategy in some way with the way they've raced each other tonight? Or is it just a free-for-all where you find a couple of cars, maybe you talk to them last minute over the voice chat and say, hey, let's pit together?
I think that you need at least a handful of cars coming down, but the more cars you have coming down into the break zone together, the more opportunity for disaster. You can have one driver miss his mark, maybe one lock up, have wheel hop, spin it around. So you got to be careful no matter how many cars you're going to bring to pit road.
And you wonder how many drivers in practice tried to make that clean
green flag
on green flag pit stops, whether they tried to come down as they're 195 miles an hour coming out of turn 4. Maybe some of them haven't, and they're approaching that for the very first time, and for them, that could be really scary when you have everybody around you, because the last thing you want to do is make a mistake and take others out with you. You probably want to just spin out by yourself and harm nobody else's race, but if you take other drivers out by accident, then that is certainly tough in nature. We do get a note from our producer Ryan Bauer. He says he didn't notice anyone practicing green flag stops. So Joey, I think this is going to be the first go about for these drivers as they cross for lap 30.
Oh my goodness, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, because we got to remember, these cars, they got the big motors in them. Remember the Bob Ross happy accident, but it's not like all of a sudden they got a bigger wheel and brake package either. So 195 miles an hour in the draft, light fuel load. Make sure you got your brake bias dialed in, because I guarantee you none of these competitors have touched it since the green flag flew.
Oh yeah, and this car can easily unravel out of your hands. We see it at all the other tracks on the schedule, at least as far as this Rolling Thunder Racing Series is concerned. You race at the shorter tracks, you race at the intermediates, these cars can get loose, and you can easily lose it when you're behind the wheel before you even fully take understanding of what's going on in the race car. So if you spin out here when you're going that fast, going on a pit road, not only can you get a pit road speeding penalty, but you can lose the car too, and that's not going to be fun. Here's Cam Barnes, the driver we did talk about, who did pick up the draft inside the top 10. Now, the good news for Barnes is that he is only one lap down, so he does have the possibility of unlapping himself here. He's not completely out of the woods quite yet, but Cam Barnes is sort of just hanging out where he's at right now, in front of the number 22, it appears, of Robert Easley and Spencer Brown. It looks like also in front of some others as well. I believe they're going side by side behind the top 10, but the top 2 on the top, Joey, have fallen out. So it looks like everybody is slowly migrating to the inside.
Yeah, Rideout, as well as I believe that's Jason Tamer, are kind of the only ones still trying to make that top groove work. And just as I say that, that Taco Bell machine goes down into the bottom lane, leaves Justin Rideout kind of out to dry up top right now. He's going to need to find somewhere to sneak in line, use that draft. Not only that, but he's got to find a way to pit road eventually.
And that's true. And if you are Rideout, you're going to hope for some space either between the number 81 of Tamer and the number 48 of Gitchell, or in the case that he's in right now, maybe some space between Gitchell and David Duke. But fortunately, he does find space right behind the car he's been working with all night long. And here are the leaders, some of them coming in, and there is Rideout sideways entering pit road.
And then we also have the 35 around. That was Bo Tiffany, the car that led them there. We have another car, I believe that's the 50. That's Ryan Perrone in the grass.
We talked about it. Drivers did not practice green flag stops in the practice session. This is their first try at going to pit road at full song, and it catches some of the heavy hitters. The 35 completely missed the entry cone, caught the grass, spun around, and then for Rideout in the one car, he just locked it up and spun the car sideways as Hero Rideout up front.
Rideout actually got tagged from the 48. I'm sorry, but Michael Gitchell got into the back of Rideout. That's what happened here. And here we go, the second wave.
Well, here they come, led by the 48 car, hopping on the brakes, locking it up quite a bit sideways. David Duke goes, but this is overall a cleaner group coming in. No problems for these drivers. We are going to be aware of pit road speeding penalties, because as soon as you get a car unraveled and sideways, you can easily overshoot not only your pit stall, but you could also speed on pit road, and that can take you a lap down or more. So that leaves at around 4 or 5 cars, make that 4 cars actually, still out on the racetrack. Ryan Johnson in the 38, the race leader. Matthew Dula in the 17, Joshua Suss in the 14, and the last car in this group you're riding on board with right now out of the Carolina region, Spencer Brown in the number 88. So out of turn 4, they hop on the brakes right in front. Brown is going to join them. Your leaders are in, and the number 38. A little hot coming in, but looks like everything's okay for Brown. Catches the grass, but he saves it.
Yeah, this is actually the cleanest of the cars or the groups to come down to pit road, and gonna see how Ryan Johnson has still got to get it stopped in the box. Does he slide through? Looks like he stops it in time, and now is when we're gonna see the pit stop cycles come to a completion. But who had the friends when they came back out onto the racetrack? Who can use that draft?
That's the biggest question so far. Michael Larch and Jason Tamer seem to be the only, well, I'm going to say net race leaders that are together. And here is also the number 39 of Luke Smith. He is coupled up with lap car Cam Barnes, who's still trying to unlap himself here. But I'm not seeing big packs of cars, Joey, which is really concerning at this point. We're seeing a lot of guys only in 2-car tandems, and now it looks like here's the battle for the net race lead. Michael Larch on the outside of Luke Smith.
Yeah, and this is coming up out of turn 2. Michael Larch now getting the push, but I think it's Ryan Johnson and Matthew Dula who are on the back straightaway just in front of this pair. I think, though, this group has a little bit more momentum, 20 miles an hour faster right now.
They do, but Michael Larch and Tamer are slowly approaching, because it takes a little bit before these cars get to 100%. And look at the run that these guys have coming out of turn 4. There is going to be no resistance by the 2 cars on the inside. Michael Larch to the race lead of the admin box 250.
That's as close as you can get it coming out of pit lane. Well organized from these top 5 cars, but ultimately it was Tamer and Larch.
That's really good stuff by Larch and Tamer to work together and had so much speed on those 2 that just came out of pit road. But good news for those guys in Johnson and Dula. They're going to rack up the top 5, but they're going to be behind these leaders, all single file on the bottom, but everybody else behind. When you look at Robert Easley in the 22, Dean Gagliano, a lot of them are separated. As Joey, let's take a look at the incident involving Justin Rideout on pit road.
Yeah, so this is going to be coming into pit road. We saw this first group have multiple cars out of control as they entered pit lane. Well, watch Rideout in the number 8. He's actually going to get some help from the number 48 behind him. I don't think Michael Gitchell knew that Rideout was coming to pit road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Rideout's got to get below the yellow line before he gets on the brakes.
And he locked it up. I think he did make pit road speed limit, so he should have been okay there. But, I mean, yeah, for sure, he did not expect Rideout to come in. He was just following him in the draft. I'm not sure whether he said over the radio or over the chat that he was coming in, so it looks like the 48 just did not know what was going to happen, and Rideout just gets slammed on the rear end. And you see, again, a part of the misaligning bumpers, Joey, he didn't just hit him on the car, shot forward, it shot upward.
Oh, yeah. Didn't just spin the car, but put it in the air. And so that means anytime these cars are pushing, it's actually making the back end lighter for that car in front.
and the rear wheels end up kicking up, and fortunately the hit wasn't hard enough to send Rideout into, I guess, what we're called the GSRC space program. Didn't kick him up any higher there, but for Rideout, I think that certainly destroyed his race in this first half for certain. He is now 10th, right behind Joshua Suss in the 14, and there are only 2 cars there. Now make that 3. They might have some help, but for the most part, the entire field seems to be separated, and it is led by Michael Larch. They are going to approach 2 more lap cars, but Joey, this is not good if you're Cam Barnes, because you spent this race, the first car a lap down, and now there are 2 more ahead of you.
Well, and crucially, look at this, David Duke. They're actually, okay, now I see they're both going up to the top side of the racetrack to let this train by. If Cam Barnes squeezes on the gas, he is going to still be the first car 1 lap down.
Cam Barnes is going to get by, so he's got the good draft around him with all of the heavy hitters at the front of the field, and looks like those lap cars as well in Gitchell and Duke. They'll catch the back end of this main pack, so they should be okay, and I believe we're around 7 or 8 cars in this group.
Yeah, he's kind of disguised in there as a lead group car. What is that, Smokey and the Bandit, when they pulled 18-wheelers around him?
Yeah, probably. He's just kind of hiding in there. It just kind of reminds me of, you know, when you have a couple of kids where they try to act in as adult and they stack each other up. They put on a big coat and they put on a big top hat and they say, yes, I am allowed in this establishment. Like, the 7 car is just hanging in here like he's one of the lead lap cars, just kind of knowing where he's at, but still understanding that he has to unlap himself at some point, as they're going side by side behind. So this is for the spot behind Cam Barnes. That's theoretically for 12, David Duke and Michael Gitchell.
And David Duke and Michael Gitchell is an example of what can happen when you have those pit stops gone wrong. We saw Gitchell get into the back of Rideout, but he had his own problems getting into and off of pit road. Same thing with David Duke, and when you come back out with only 1 friend, you lose the draft, and wow, you can go a lap down quickly.
And these guys for sure need a caution, or at least Cam Barnes does if he doesn't unlap himself by pace out on the racetrack. But we haven't seen any incidents to bring out a yellow flag. Everybody has been clean, and it looks like after the first round of green flag stops, it has only separated the field further than how it was mostly packed up in the first stint right before they all came in. Here's a look at the number 17 of Matthew Dula, who we saw in qualifying as the first driver out, qualified in P6 and up to P5. And interestingly enough, Joey, we have 2 drivers inside the top 5 that started 14th, or rather 12th or worse. 12th place starting spot for Luke Smith in the 39, and a 14th starting spot for Jason Tamer. So nice job for them early on in the race.
Well, it's not a fantasy out there for Luke Smith. It is all crush time, and he is crushing it on the racetrack. He capitalized on those pit stops, actually leapfrogged the majority of the field, stayed in this draft pack. So you're right, Luke Smith doing a tremendous job. Jason Tamer, you mentioned it early in the race. He just worked his way up through the pack, through the traffic. So I feel like between the good pit stop strategy from Luke Smith, Jason Tamer being aggressive in traffic, and Michael Larch just with the GSRC stickers, we got a front 3.
Yeah, we certainly do. And I guess if you're talking about the 39 of Luke Smith in that crush car, I'd say so. 39 car is crushing on the $300 to win this race and is popping off right now. I'm going to shut the door before I even continue, but still.
You picked up my fantasy joke, huh?
There we go. Yeah, I did, for sure. For sure. But he's running a great race for sure. Started in that P12 spot, and what a race that he's put up so far. Really clean, and while having one of the best looking cars out on track. So lap 43 here. We are 7 laps away from the official halfway mark of tonight's Admin Box 215. If we stay where we are probably going to end up in our second round of green flag pit stops, and we certainly appreciate all of the support for those watching at home on the Global SimRacing Channel. Just a reminder that if you're loving the coverage of the Admin Box 215, all the racing that these guys have put up cleanly here at Daytona, if you want to join the Gen 4 Series League Rolling Thunder Racing Series, you can. They fire up their engines October 1st right here at the World Center of Racing. So you can go to rollingthunderracingseries.com and sign up today to join these groups of drivers. Michael Larch, the race leader, looking back at the 81 of Jason Tamer. And Joey, are you expecting any moves probably before we get to the second round of stops, or do you think just because the field is so fully separated that they just want to log these laps single file until they get more security on fuel strategy?
I think that's exactly it. I have in my notes here, looks like the field pitted 31, 32, lap 33 in that 3-lap window. So that projector gives us about lap 60 to 65, 66, somewhere in there for our second round of green flag pit stops. But remember, that's green flag pit stops if we stay green out there.
Yeah, that's true. You always have that clause, if we stay green, and most of the time, that really never ends up being the case. You always end up seeing at least one caution. This pack was joined by Robert Easley in the number 22 car, so he has a shot at Matthew Dula for that 5th place position, and he does have help by Michael Gitchell. But again, Gitchell behind him is a lap down, and then Duke in front of him is also a lap down, as I think Gitchell is coming down pit road, Joey. I don't know why he's making this call, but it looks like he will drop his track position to 13th. Looks like that's where he was, but this looks to be an unscheduled stop. Not sure what's going on.
I'm not sure what's going on either. This doesn't really fit within the pit window strategy, so maybe some problems going on out there. And the other thing to consider, you could always have hardware issues in your own sim rig.
Yeah, it looks like he's blinking in and out. Gitchell, for now, on the screen is not showing, so he is disconnected from the session. We're going to try and get a better look at exactly how that happened or the reasoning why he stepped out of the server, but we do take one car out. Unfortunately, Gitchell will be considered our first DNF here from Daytona. There's Bo Tiffany in the number 35. We spent the majority of this race, Joey, in the first half at the front of the field, and look how much things have changed since the pit road incident. 2 laps down in 15th place.
Just a tough road right now for that number 35 of Bo Tiffany. You mentioned it. He was one of our front runners. I was calling him controlling the race. He wanted the clean air, but pit stops, man, they can be a doozy.
And it's worse for the 35 because, I mean, you look at Cam Barnes, who got put a lap down, David Duke, Michael Gitchell, Spencer Brown, Ryan Perrone, they all got put a lap down, but they had at least some sort of friends around them. They had some draft. Bo Tiffany has been all by himself for most of the night ever since the round of stops. So he's been all by himself on the track, obviously slower than everybody in draft, and so he fell 1 lap down, which seems to be pretty bad, but then falls 2 laps down, which seems to be almost insurmountable when it comes down to the fact that we have had no cautions tonight. He's going to need a lot of them, and he's going to have to hope that the other drivers around him end up in an incident or go 2 laps down or more, because he's the only driver in that realm as far as laps down are concerned. So Michael Larch continues to lead this race, and now the pack continues to grow as they're lapping more cars, but Joey Atterbury, we do have another pack in this race, surprisingly enough, and it's led by the 9th place car. That's the number 1 of Justin Rideout. Here's the push from Spencer Brown, the 14 of Joshua Suss in 10th place, and then Ryan Perrone in the 50, so a 4-car pack here.
And I think what this 4-car pack is counting on is just a yellow flag to happen on the racetrack. They are on the lead lap, I believe, but they're just way far disconnected with the lead group, so gonna have some issues happen on the racetrack, make up all of that track position.
Yeah, they do, and they're gonna have to hope for a caution. That has to be the set stage for them to make their comeback here in this race, because if it stays green, the green flag pit stops can help them possibly, but it won't save them. They're gonna have to hope for mistakes by the guys up at the front, or just something catastrophic to happen for them to gain that track position once more. As the whole field is single file at lap number 50. We'll take a short break, but you're watching coverage of the Admin Box 250 as part of the Rolling Thunder Racing Series here at Daytona.
He's got a lot of speed, but he's boxed up. Can he find an opening? No, he's going to have to push his way through.
Now he's going to go for that big run again.
3 wide going into turns.
High line, right off the corner.
Oh, man.
He's up to 4th place already.
They're still going to be side by side.
And he's going to have to back out. Oh, he gets help. He gets turned around in a big moment.
50 to go here in the Admin Box 250 as part of the Rolling Thunder Racing Series here from Daytona International Speedway with coverage on the Global SimRacing Channel. Kenneth Bueno and Joey Atterbury with you on the call. Ryan Bauer, our producer, all night long. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We have our first official battle on the track. However, this is to be the lucky dog out on track. David Duke and Cam Barnes are going at it side by side. They make a bit of contact into turn one. Oh man, that was close.
I think Cam Barnes realizes what David Duke is doing, and he did not appreciate it. He is disguised in there with the lead lap cars like we were talking about earlier, but David Duke is sniffing out that strategy. He's going to ruin it.
And he is, and Duke has no help, but somehow is making this work. Now, does it incentivize anyone else to go up there? The answer so far seems to be no. They don't want to risk the track position. That 14 car looks for some space in between the 7 and what is the 38 of Ryan Johnson, but to no avail. That Haras car is going to have to wait for that space to come by, and that's going to be really tough as Johnson goes over the radio, and he is not letting that 78 go in whatsoever. Now, Joey, under the short break that we had watching these drivers out on track, you talked about Justin Rideout's damage that he picked up from that incident entering pit road for the first time on green flag stops. He is leading this second pack, but he's not that fast.
No, he's not. He's got some bodywork damage to the back end of this number 8 machine, and I'm not sure if he knew that he had it because he did not fix it on his pit stop. And looking at the lap times, let's check his lap as he comes across right here, a 46.9. Compare that to our leader, a 45.2. This group, 1.5 seconds per lap slower.
Yeah, it's also because they have less cars, but you're right. The damage on Rideout's machine is not helping him. It's slowing him down, and it's making the trek to the front, or at least closing up the gap to the leaders way, way harder. And we've talked about it too, Joey. At these tracks that rely so much on aerodynamics, if you have any little bit of damage, you're losing mile per hour on the straightaway. You're losing the top speed, and when you're leading a pack of cars, it can make it worse because not only are you losing time and speed on the straightaways as you're flat out on the throttle, all the guys behind you are forced to be behind you because if they try and go around, it can lose more time to the leaders, and it's a big trade-off that you have to make.
Well, look at this. Bo Tiffany trying to get up here and get one of his laps back. He is now going to help David Duke in that top lane, and crucially, David has put himself ahead of Cam Barnes. He's the lucky dog now, so this battle between the lapped down cars continues.
And again, I'm just going to ask the question, if these two are at the top, is anyone from the lead going to go up there? If they continue to gain momentum, what does that say for the 39? What does the 81 of Tamer do? Do they try and catch up? But this is good stuff in that lucky dog fight. The 78 still has the pressure from the inside by the 7 car. Bo Tiffany giving it support, almost a bit of contact there out of 4. And that 78, Joey, has been really close to probably turning some cars around. He's been trying to side draft. It's been working so far, but it has been really close between them.
It has. David Duke has been one of the more aggressive competitors on that side draft, and I understand what Duke is doing. He's trying to get his lap back. He's doing everything that he can. However, I will say these lead cars probably not too much of a fan of what he's doing.
Yeah, they really don't want to see these guys play a factor into the race, but that 78 has a big run going into turns 3 and 4, so it looks like out of the corner, the 78 will about even out with the number 81 of Jason Tamer, who's the lead lap second place car. And as they come through the trial bowl, Joey, here's a look on the back of Ryan Perome. Jason Tamer is turned by the lap car, Duke. He's into the wall, but nobody officially spun, so race control does not throw the yellow. Now they do. Caution is out for the first time in the Admin Box 250.
Oh, no problem for Jason Tamer. We're going to get a replay, and I have a feeling this is just David Duke getting too aggressive with the side draft.
Oh, man. And it's exactly what you said, Joey. The lead lap cars did not want to see these lap cars catching up to them and trying to side draft. David Duke makes that minimal contact going into the trial wall as they both collect together right around the start-finish line or shortly after it. You see the 81 goes up the track, the 78 comes down a little bit. That's the look from Luke Smith. And as they hit the outside wall, Tamer picks up a heap of the damage. Duke follows him there, and Bo Tiffany picks up a couple of crinkles too.
Well, and I'm also seeing this. David Duke from race control. EOL penalty. That means end of line for David Duke. He is at fault for that accident.
Yep, he's going to drop back to the end of the longest line. And for Duke, who was fighting for the lucky dog spot, that is not going to help. He was in front of Cam Barnes for the lucky dog position. He ends up the reason for the caution. Here's a look at Bo Tiffany. And Joey, Bo Tiffany has been not able to catch a lucky break tonight. When you look at the first pit stop incident that took him 2 laps down in the first place, and then just the innocent bystander and a crash in the trial wall.
Sometimes when it rains, it pours, and the dominoes just continue to fall. And when you have a wreck at 195 miles an hour, it can be incredibly difficult to avoid. Really good job from Robert Easley there. Maybe picked up a little bit of right side damage, but here we go. Yellow flag, pit stops.
When it rains, it pours, and sometimes you get a bit of rumbling thunder. That's what happened there on that caution. Michael Larch is the leader still. He will bring basically the entire field in for pit stops. This is going to be interesting just because we'll have this pit stop with around 42 to go. They can't make it all the way to the end, I believe, but they're really going to have to be careful. Ryan Johnson just overshot the pit box. It looks like he will back it up just a bit. He'll lose a bit of time, but Michael Larch seems to be the best car. And actually, Matthew Dula, beats Michael Larch to the line. The 17 car up to the front, and Luke Smith in second. So Larch falls back to third place. 42 laps to go here in the Admin Box 250 from Daytona. You're watching coverage of the Rolling Thunder Racing Series right here on the Global SimRacing Channel.
It looks like he's got it.
He's got a lot of speed, but he's boxed up. Can he find an opening? No, he's going to have to push his way through.
Now he's going to go for that big run again.
3 wide going into turns.
High line, right off the corner.
Oh, man.
He's up to 4th place already.
They're still going to be side by side.
And he's going to have to back out. Oh, he gets help. He gets turned around in a big moment.
Welcome back to Daytona. We continue our coverage of the Admin Box 250 here for the Rolling Thunder Racing Series. And Matthew Dula, Luke Smith just beat Michael Larch out of the pit lane here on our first caution with around 44 to go. We're going to cross the line for 41 laps left. We should have a restart inside 40 laps to go. That incident involving the number 78 of Ryan Duke, a lap car, and then the lead lap car of Jason Tamer in the 81. And as he rejoins the racetrack from 9th, he has not used his fast repair, which is interesting, Joey, because you'd expect with the hard hit that he took to the outside wall, he would use it, but he kept the car rather clean, it looks like, and he did repair enough of it on pit lane, so he's okay for now.
That's the other option you can do is, instead of using the fast repair here at Daytona, these pace car laps, they're very, very long. So let the crew hop over the wall, let them fix the car, see if you can save that fast repair, that lifeline, if you want to call it, for a little bit later in the race, because, you know, yellow flags, they tend to breed more yellows.
That's true. Hopefully we don't see more yellows throughout this race. It's been a rather clean one here at the World Center of Racing. And as these drivers double up, you'll notice something that is rather odd compared to the usual restarts you see in Stock Car Racing Series on iRacing. The lap cars are on the bottom lane. All the lead lap cars are at the top. So sort of like the old school NASCAR style restarts. You see this often with the 1987 cars on the sim where they have this restart format. So Dula is not going to have any pressure on the inside or outside by any lead lap cars. It's only going to be Bo Tiffany, who is looking to put himself 1 lap down. He's currently 2 laps down, sitting in 14th. So Joey, this is going to help Dula stay in front, but if they check up some cars, the cars on the inside might just help the 39 and others break free.
Little bit of a generation difference between you and me, Kenneth, because yeah, this is what I grew up watching NASCAR in their restarts, but you guys know it as the 1987 cars here on iRacing. And you're right, it's going to be the lapped cars down on the low lane. You see all the lead lap cars stacked up, but hey, that 35, that's Bo Tiffany. Remember how good he was in clean air.
And also how good he was with drafting partners, very controlled at the front. So we'll see what he does as the 2-lap down car. But for Matthew Dula in the 17, he will take the green flag with around 40 laps to go from Daytona. All the lead lap cars single file, and this is going to help the number 81 of Jason Tamer just because he can catch up to these guys on draft. But here's the battle for the lead. Luke Smith on the bottom, and he makes it look easy.
Well, it just seems like Dula is having a little bit of trouble getting up through the gears. Larch has committed to pushing him, but you're right. Luke Smith used that momentum, go down to the bottom groove, but now comes Larch and Dula back.
He had a lot of separation, Luke Smith did, between himself and Bo Tiffany. So as he caught back up, that was a lot of lost speed and lost ground. So here comes to the bottom of the racetrack Ryan Johnson. Michael Larch, rather, is a little late to the gun. Matthew Dula is going to block in front. Ryan Johnson shuffles to second. And Larch in that GRC Chevrolet is going to stick up top. Car around. That's the 88 of Spencer Brown. Hard into the outside wall. Luke Smith is involved as well. Ryan Perrone, our biggest crash of the night, involving 4 or 5 machines. That's the 22 of Robert Easley. And caution is out again.
Yeah, this is tough. The yellows, they can bring more yellows, and watch the red and black and the orange car. I believe it's the 88 of Spencer Brown that comes down right in front of Luke. Actually, you know what? Might have been the 39 going up the racetrack a little bit.
See there, that miscommunication and that minimal contact as the 88 just gets trapped on the outside wall with the 22 who had nowhere to go. Here's a look from Luke Smith. So there's Brown on the outside. The lap car, Luke Smith, the lead lap car. Just bare contact there.
Kenneth,
the rear.
This is super tough because it looked like Brown cleared Smith going in. Smith actually went to behind Spencer Brown there. I wonder if he just picked up a little bit of understeer from dirty air as the 88 cleared his nose.
Yeah, that's a good point. You probably did, because it didn't look intentional at all. It wasn't like he was trying to join him there on that outside where the 88 was gaining momentum. He just slowly drifted up and didn't realize he was going up that far. And then when you make that contact, it's obviously hard to get around it all. Here's a look from Ryan Perrone in the 50, who gets into the rear of the 39. Watch this through the trial. Sees the accident. And there's the touch.
I think the car that got the most damage was the 39. I think the rest of these cars might have been able to get through with contact, but not any severe damage that I saw.
Here is Cam Barnes, a look from the 7's perspective. Look at the hard hit to the outside wall by Brown. And his car is torn up, and probably wouldn't be surprised to see him use a faster pair in this race. Ryan Perrone in the number 50, it looks like he has already used his faster pair, but his car is damaged from this incident, so he's going to have to spend the time on pit road. Looks like the leaders are considering the pit lane as well. Matthew Dula is going to lead them in, Joey, and this is going to be pivotal because we're inside 38 laps to go. This might be the money stop that gets these guys to the end of the race on fuel.
Well, I think that we were already in the clear based off of our generated pit window earlier, but you're right. If we have more yellows, this just solidifies it. And I wonder if some of these cars didn't take a set of tires earlier.
And so race out of pit road almost goes to Matthew Dula, but he loses it by a hair. Ryan Johnson in the 38 car, 5.3 second stop. And even though it was a little slower than Dula's 5.1, it is good enough to get him to the front. Looks like it was about 8 or so tenths of a second separating those two. And Ryan Johnson in the Oreo machine up to the front for the first time tonight. That's good stuff from him.
And I think you are right, Kenneth. I'm looking just at the laps when they pitted 31, 32, 33. This would kind of be that money stop with another yellow flag out there. Although I'm curious, what happens if we run green from here on out?
I'm surprised too, and when you don't have green flag pit stops, you're just gonna have flat out racing, and we're having some of the best drivers up there. And look who came out in third out of that exchange, the 81 of Jason Tamer. So out of all of the things that he had to go through, by being involved in that incident with David Duke, he is now back up inside the top 5, like if nothing happened at all. That Taco Bell machine. And still, Joey, he has a faster pair, which is really, really good news, because if you get involved in an incident as hard as he did, you fix that race car, it runs just as good as new, and you've got a faster pair in your back pocket. That is amazing stuff, just to save for what could happen late in the going.
It's smart strategy from Jason Tamer. You have these long yellow flag laps. Why not let the crew fix it, then use the faster pair? Because you never know what dangers, what perils await you at the end of the race. People get more aggressive, and especially when you're paying out not just first, but the top 4. I have a feeling the elbows are going to come out.
They are, and we're seeing some of the strongest drivers now going to be tussling for the top position. Some of the drivers hitting pit road now. Cam Barnes in the 7, Robert Easley in the number 22. We haven't talked much about the 14 car of Jake Bustos, who started dead last in this race and is now inside the top 10. Neither have we talked about that Burger King car of Joshua Suss. But there is the bright green, number 74. The Impala SS coming out on pit road, so he will rejoin the field and around the back half of the top 10. And once more, we're going to be in those restarts, as I should say, with Matthew Dula at command and all the lead lap cars at the top. Looks like the lap cars on the bottom, that is led by Spencer Brown in the 88, going to be joined by Bo Tiffany and Ryan Perome just a little bit. They're going to start to catch up. So this is going to be a lot of fun here, Joey, with these guys up at the front. Dula taking the lead, Johnson behind, Michael Larch and Jason Tamer. Rest of your top 4, D. Gagliano, we saw a lot of good out of the first stint in this race. These guys are going to be all over the place here with 35 to go on the restart.
It's funny because the field looks pretty thin going down the back straightaway, but we've only had 2 cars so far retire from the race, and still the field only 3 cars that are off the lead lap. So very competitive what's going on the racetrack, and with 36 coming to 35 laps to go, a lot more racing.
It's not a 43-car field, but it is a very competitive one, and these guys are really good. They've put on a show here from Daytona, whether it's just been side-by-side action, some 3-wide action here and there. You look at the green flag strategies, and now some of the chaos that's starting to arise. We have seen all of it here at Daytona tonight, but still a lot left to write down in the book here in this admin box. 250, 35 laps to go. Pace truck will make that left to pit road. Matthew Dula will lead us to the green flag. Let's turn up the sounds and crank it up here from the World Center of Racing. Matthew Dula, the leader on the most recent restart, has fallen back to 7th. He got absolutely jumped, Joey Atterbury, by the entire field and is now on the bottom end of the racetrack with Ryan Johnson to push, but all of the lead lap cars have taken advantage of his sluggishness on the restart, and now it's Michael Larch's race to control coming to 32 laps to go.
And I'm moving my camera around to see if there's any damage on Matthew Dula's car, but it looks very clean. I don't see any sort of why the car would be slow getting up through the gears. The only thing I can think of is that some cars, some drivers are a little bit happier following in the draft. Some are happier out front.
And Dula could be backing out just in case there are more incidents. But look who's catching up to the front. That is the 18 car of Dean Gagliano. He's got help from Justin Rideout in the 1 car. So some of the familiar characters, Joey, we saw earlier in this race, they're now starting to get back up to the front. Gagliano with a big run on the Daytona super stretch, and he's got the lead into turn 3.
Yeah, got the big push from Justin Rideout behind him, and now it is officially a race. You called it. Some of these cars that maybe had troubles with that green flag pit stop, these yellow flags brought the race right back to them.
And look who's in P6, right behind Luke Smith in the 39. Former lapped car Cam Barnes in the 7. Remember that Ford Mustang hit the outside wall, got out of it out of turn 2, dropped off the pack entirely, fell a lap down because he was all by himself. And here he is with these caution flags and with everything that has cycled through. The 7 car has a chance to catch back up and maybe lead this race. Here's Rideout in the middle, 3 wide.
Trying to squeeze through the middle, Rideout with no help at all, gets it done, uses the side draft, and now 3 wide going into turn 3, almost contact.
Gagliano gets pushed out of line. Bo Tiffany, who is 1 lap down, looking for the lucky dog. If a caution comes out or just looking to unlap himself, is now playing a factor. And so is the number 88 of Spencer Brown. That red and black car on the inside did get his fast repair from the hard hit into the outside wall at the exit of the tri-oval. And he is here in between this first pack, right out with a big push from the 35 that could be coming on the backstretch. Gagliano moves down to the inside to help those 2 on the bottom. But for now, Michael Larch has the lead. That 1 car slowly approaching.
I also see the 35 of Bo Tiffany on the top side. Bo is still 1 lap down, trying to get his lap back, but he is in that lucky dog position, given the push to Justin Rideout on the top side.
And Rideout's going to need a lot of help, but so far it is not really arriving. That 35 car is not on the rear bumper as much as you'd expect him to be. He's just hanging there, giving the space to that number 1. As he also just takes notice that he's a lap car. The guy in front of him is not running for the win right now. So the 35 doesn't need to be that aggressive and doesn't also want to ruin his race this early on before it's all said and done. Ryan Perrone also in the 50. He is a lap down too. He's fighting for a spot. That's 13th with the number 88 of Spencer Brown, that red and black car on the inside. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. But for the moment, Michael Larch holds control. Jason Tamer in 2nd. And Joey, remember how good Tamer and Rideout worked together when they were nose to tail. If this 1 car gets a big run, does Tamer go up with him?
God, that's a good question. Always pick your friends. Who is going to be there at the end? Who do you work the best with? And it's interesting to see Rideout continue that top lane. We've seen some success in terms of passes, but overall, with the big picture of the race, I haven't seen the top lane really have that momentum to really say, you know what, this is the preferred lane.
Yeah, that's true. There's been a lot of separation in this first pack in comparison to the beginning of the race, where a lot of the guys, at least in the back, were separated, but in the front, they were all together, packed in like a bunch of sardines. So that's what helped. You know, we saw those big runs on the outside and inside. Now, everybody's more content riding single file. Now, there are no concerns about fuel. These drivers should be able to make it to the end with the way the cautions have flown and with the way these drivers have come down pit road. A lot of them for fuel only to top up, so they should be okay on that front. But, Joey, it looks like single file, maybe the motive is just to run this race to the end and then race it out. Not race it out now.
I think so, and we still have 27 laps to go. That's still a long time here at Daytona. Something else I'm noticing here, Kenneth, is we've got top 4 cars on the lead lap, and then we've got a train of our 3 cars that are 1 lap down here. They're kind of snuck right in there in the middle, right in front of Luke Smith, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Luke Smith in 5th place, Cam Barnes in 6th, and then they've got Matthew Dulo, Ryan Johnson. Remember those two at the front of the field that just sort of lagged back on the recent restart. There's the 22 of Robert Easley. He's going to drop to 14th, and he will be 1 lap down, along with the 50, the 35, and the 88 car. So he joins that list as you ride on board with the Crush Chevrolet. He continues to give space to Ryan Perone up in front. I'm just interested to see what these lap cars are going to do and how much they're going to impact the front, because we saw what happened to David Duke. Not sure if there's going to be a big moment like that again.
And the other thing, since you were talking about the 39 of Luke Smith back there, I still think he's actually got damage on his car from the previous wreck. You were mentioning Jason Tamer. He didn't use his fast repair. Well, that's the same strategy that Luke Smith is using right now. He had his crew hop over the wall, fix as much as he could, and then got back out onto the racetrack, saved that fast repair.
And that was 1.5 minutes on pit road the last time he was down. 1 minute 26 seconds. That was a while that 13 was there repairing his Chevrolet from all the damage he got. It was overall 1 minute 46 second stop from pit entry to pit exit here at Daytona. So that 39 is probably just taking his lucky stars. He's still in this race competitively, and that's why he's giving so much space to the drivers in front. But the control remains with Larch, Tamer, and Gagliano coming to the line with 24 laps to go. Now look at that, Joey. The entire field all the way back to around 13th, all single file at the bottom end of the speedway.
Pretty impressive. One of the world's fastest parking lots, you could call it right there. Or the world's fastest traffic jam, I guess, since they're lined up nose to tail right now. But Larch, Tamer, Gagliano, your top 3. And I don't see anybody going up there and upsetting, especially with Ride out there in 4th.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But if we do get to the home stretch of this race, which we are slowly approaching, Joey, if there's a driver to go up first, who's it going to be? Is there anyone more reluctant to go for that outside? Is it Ride out? Is it Gagliano after all? Is it one of the lap cars to help the lead lap cars catch up? Who is more reluctant that you've noticed so far, Joey, to probably go up there and make a challenge for the win?
Oh, it's Ride out for sure. I mean, you've seen that blue car go up on the top lane multiple times. If you're looking for a car to make a move, I'd watch Justin Ride out.
And that one car, we saw him sideways. He got hit by the number 48 of Michael Gitchell, who unfortunately is not in this race anymore. Just took it to pit road and disconnected from the session. But ever since he got that car repaired, he has found his way back to where he was at the beginning of this race. He ride on board once again with that number 39 car of Luke Smith. And there's that bright green and white Chevrolet of the number 50, Ryan Perone, is right in front, who set some of the fastest laps in tonight's race early on. But then again, you just look at all the separation and look how far Dean Gagliano has fallen off to the top 2. Not sure whether that's by design or whether those 2 up front are just so good.
Be interesting to see, does Dean come with a mega run right here and try to pass? I wonder if this is a little bit of strategy of, hey, what happens when we've got 5 laps left? Do I let him run out? Do I get help from behind and try to take the train right on by him? Or are you right? Is he just falling off right now?
I'm not entirely sure, but you could also get the strategy that he's backing up, and then in the last couple laps, like you said, he could get a big run and go through these top 2 like it's nothing. Now he's starting to catch up just because he let off so much ground. He's slowly picking up the draft, and all these drivers behind, he does not want to hold them up. So he wants to make sure he keeps them in check, keeps them rather happy. And Joey, at this stage of the race, coming at 20 laps to go, you want to make sure you can fall on that bank of respect that you've built all race long with these guys around you. Because yes, maybe in the final lap they won't help you, but maybe with 2 laps to go, maybe with 3 laps to go, you make a move, they'll follow.
Let me throw out a wild harebrained idea here. We saw in our first green flag run, the car go furthest was 33 laps. Kenneth, didn't we go back to green with 35 to go? Maybe fuel save?
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, look at Bo Tiffany. He just got around these guys like they were standing still, and now he's
They're all fuel
himself.
saving. I'm looking at lap times right now. Bo Tiffany, you're right. He just drove around the top and He's saying this lead lap train, it's not going anywhere right now. 48-second lap times. Kenneth, that's 4 seconds slower.
And these drivers are, yeah, you're right. They are slower than usual. And now they're going side by side. That's Jake Bustos at the top. Car in 5th place, Ryan Perron on the bottom. So he wants to split all these lap cars. It looks like he either didn't get the memo, or now it looks like he's going to shuffle back in. They might just be saving fuel after all, and there are huge checkups on the back straightaway.
Oh, yeah, I mean, here comes Dula in the 17. Look at this. This is a car that's going flat out. He is just going to drive right on by the entire field. I'm looking 190 miles an hour. He's going 10 mile an hour faster.
It goes back to your point that you said about Dula and Johnson, that they're happier following. That probably was on purpose. They were hanging back there, possibly to save fuel, and as soon as they got the green light that they can make it to the end of this race, now they're starting to be aggressive. They don't clear Bo Tiffany here quite yet, but Dula has the race lead from Daytona. Joshua Suss making it as the 3rd car on the outside.
Now we are starting to see the cards be laid down on the table. Some are starting to fuel save, some are saying the heck with that, and it's forcing everybody to run hard now.
And that now turns the question over to the former leader in Michael Larch. Does he have enough fuel? Did he waste too much being at the front of the field?
This is really interesting because in real world racing, we've got multiple people helping with the strategy. They're running the fuel numbers. We can see exactly what's going on. But here in iRacing, the driver, he is the crew chief. He is the strategist. He's got to do it all from behind the wheel.
Oh yeah, 100%. And also spotters too at these super speedways. You know, there are some teams that do have spotters in them, whether it's their friends or somebody that they know quite well. But in the sim, a lot of these guys just go by ear off the iRacing spotter. And so that can make things a little tricky, not only when you're fuel saving, but when you've got cars around you. It looks like Justin Rideout wants nothing to do with these two at the front. He's going to follow lap car Spencer Brown, who just unlapped himself. Rideout is going to look for the lead, coming to the start-finish line, 17 to go.
I think that we're seeing strategies being blown wide open right now because drivers, they're getting greedy. Ooh, Spencer Brown on the apron almost loses control right in front of our leaders. That could have been really bad.
That could have been tough, and they've got a lap car up in front. Robert Easley in the number 22, set to go 2 laps down. If these leaders get by, Rideout is left for dead on the back straightaway, top lane. And so Dula might just be secure in taking this lead once again here from Daytona. Help from the 38 of Ryan Johnson. There's the lap car in the 22. Looks like he's going to let everybody through on the outside. No problems for all the leaders. They are hugging that double yellow line at the inside of the track. Somehow, though, Rideout is going to take the lead outright, coming to the start-finish line.
You called it, using the help from Brown right in front of them. And crucially now, that is a car that is 1 lap down that's leading this pack. Well, I guess I should say he is on the lead lap, but he's breaking the air. Everybody else can now save fuel behind him. It's exactly what the leaders wanted.
That's true, and also with Rideout there, he would have been in danger if he was up there all by himself. It looks like, Joey, we're in a race for who doesn't want to be in the lead right now with 16 to go, just because of all the questions with how far they can make it on gas.
I was saying it, I really feel like you're seeing the strategies being blown open, rip the page out of the book, because who is pushing it, who is ignoring the fuel numbers, and when that happens, the other drivers see a car go faster and they go, well, how come I can't go that fast? I want to go that fast, and then all of a sudden your strategy is out the window.
It's sort of like the theory of racing in Formula E, where a lot of the drivers say they don't want to lead the race at the front. They want to be at around 5th or 6th before the race blows open at the end, and then they can go for the win. They can strike. But at the beginning, middle, almost near the end, they want to hang around the top 5, top 6. And then you look at guys like Joshua Suss, who's been chilling out here in 4th. Michael Larch, who I'm not sure if he can make it on fuel, but he's back in 5th. Jason Tamer in the 81, strong driver in 6th. Dean Gagliano in the 7th place spot. How do they handle this as they cross the line? 14 laps to go. All of the lead lap cars and even some of the lap machines are single file at the bottom and really clean so far as Justin Rideout leads the race.
I mean, we're still in full fuel save mode. I can't believe how well-mannered these drivers are being right now. Let me just remind everybody, our leader, Justin Rideout, his fastest lap, maybe not one of the fastest of the race, but a 44.9. His last, a 47.6, almost 2 seconds slower.
If you saw that lap by itself, you'd probably think something is wrong with either the driver or the car. There's nothing wrong with either. It's just the strategy. Things have been really interesting here, and once they get under 10 laps to go, we're not sure whether they're going to go full out 100% and start clicking off fast laps again, or if they're going to be fuel saving like this until the very end and until somebody reaches their hand out the window and say, hey, we got to go. I want to win this race. It looks like Jason Tamer might just be that guy. He moves up to the top and breaks the top 5.
And this is what we're talking about. These cars lined up down low, they're all fuel safe. So Jason Tamer doesn't even need help to go and pass them. He just puts his foot down and drives right on by him.
You look at the leaders setting laps in the 188 mile per hour rather. Setting the 81 on the backstretch, hit 197 miles an hour. Here goes Dean Gagliano in the 18. He also wants the lead 2 from Daytona. He might break in front of the 81. He does. But can he stay in front of the 88 of Brown? Right now the answer is no, but Gagliano has the lead. It looks like he can't clear Brown just yet. So here comes the 81 back again for the tally.
And try to squeeze down, but Tamer's not going to give him that position. Gagliano just might have mistimed it a little bit. He'd be smart if he dipped back into line, because when you're out here in your own lane, you're pushing that air. You want to be fuel saving.
The 18 is going to struggle here. He does have a decent amount of space behind Jason Tamer to work with, so he's got a bubble. It might close rather quickly here because Rideout wants to draft off the car in front. If he's going to continue to save fuel, we'll come across the line. 11 laps to go. We are still side by side for the lead behind the lap car.
Now we are starting to see the pace pick back up. Our leaders running 46-second lap times. May not be too tremendously fast, but it is picking up.
And you wonder here what the top 2 are going to do, most notably that 18 car. Now he ducks out of line and goes to the inside, following behind the 81. So he is not going to try his chances any longer. He's going to stay in that single file train, and we'll see if he's still got the opportunity to save some fuel to make it all the way to the end. It looks like Rideout is still saving fuel. Matthew Jula is still saving fuel. So is Ryan Johnson. Virtually everybody in this group is all saving gas in some manner.
I mean, Kenneth, Daytona, it's 2.5 miles long, and if you're having to save 2 laps, potentially 3, I don't even know if that's doable under green flag conditions.
But if they can't do it, then how do they go on pit road here with 10 laps to go? I mean, this is a big track, but I mean, you've got little laps left.
Monkey see, monkey do, and let me tell you, sometimes racers, when they put that visor down, the brain goes out the window.
Well, look at this. Jason Tamer, the leader, is running 180 miles an hour. Going in at turn 3, Spencer Brown, who is on lap 11th. Caution flag is out. And where did the yellow come from? Luke Smith. It looks like Cam Barnes as well.
This was at the very end of our lead group. Oh man, just a huge checkup. You're going to watch the 7 get into the 39, but we were talking about the bump drafting and the accordion effect earlier. Well, it wasn't from bump drafting, it was from fuel save.
And we talked about as well, Joey, checkups on super speedways, how dangerous they can be. They can cause contact. That's what happened there. Here's a look from Cam Barnes right in front of Robert Easley. You see them all slow down before turn 3. Right there is where Barnes gets in the rear bumper, lifts the rear tires off the ground on the 39 car, and he goes up into the outside wall. First time we saw Barnes on the lead lap since his scuffle with the outside wall earlier in the race. Luke Smith, his second incident of the night. Here's a look from Barnes, who does not see the checkup coming, Joey, and into the back bumper of that crush machine he goes, crushing the back bumper.
It's just a tough break for both of those cars, because if you remember, both of those competitors had some early troubles that they were hanging out on the lead lap, and now going to have to go down and use that fast repair.
So caution is out here inside 10 laps to go, and we mentioned that fuel strategy that the leaders were employing. It looks like that has been thrown out the window. Other than Dean Gagliano and Justin Rideout, rather, they're going to stay out. And it looks like the 81 of Tamer is going to bring Jake Bustos and some others in.
I think the only reason to pit right now, Kenneth, is if you've got any leftover damage on the race car. I would assume that the yellow flag laps would be enough fuel save to get you to the end.
Oh, that's a tough call there by the 81 of Tamer. 5.4 seconds. He fuels up, and everybody else behind would do the same. 5-second stops. Michael Larchet, 5.8, so he had to save a little more. And D. Gagliano, Justin Rideout, your race leaders here at Daytona. We're in crunch time here in the admin box 250. We'll take a moment to step away, but you won't miss coverage on the Global SimRacing Channel.
He's got a lot of speed, but he's boxed up. Can he find an opening? No, he's going to have to push his way through.
Now he's going to go for that big run again.
3 wide going into turns.
Highline right off the corner.
Oh, man.
He's up to 4th place already.
They're still going to be side by side.
And he's going to have to back out. Oh, he gets help. He gets turned around in a big moment.
A full-on strategy race here in Daytona Beach, Florida. We continue our coverage of the Admin Box 250 right here on the Global SimRacing Channel for the Rolling Thunder Racing Series. Kenneth Bueno and Joey Atterbury with you on the call, and we had a fuel strategy race unravel up until a recent caution involving Cam Barnes in the 7 and the 39 of Luke Smith. So some have pitted, some have stayed out, including your current race leaders, Dean Gagliano and Justin Rideout. We did have a bit of an accident right under the yellow flag. Spencer Brown went around at around turn 4, I believe just got tapped by the 22 of Robert Easley. But, Joey, we were reminding ourselves about the strategy. Now some drivers have stayed out. We were hoping that it was going to end that way just because of how unusual and how unpredictable it was going to be. But at this point, looks like most of these drivers can make it to the end. It's going to be a flat-out race with around 6 to go.
Yeah, most of them can, but honestly, I'm getting a little rusty. I'm happy that we got the bearded sim racer behind the scenes. 2 green-white checkers if we need them. So the cars that stayed out, they gambled on fuel. They can make it to the checkered, but what if we go into that bonus time Daytona, a very long lap around this place?
It is a very long lap, and you don't want to waste all your fuel and run on fumes all the way to the end, because you could see your chance at $300 go down the drain. Now, it's top 4 that do get cash prizes out of all this. We still remember this in the context of this strategy race. First place gets $300. Second place will come home with $150. $100 will be for the 3rd place finisher, and then the driver who comes home in 4th place gets $50. So even if we don't win this race, you do come away with cash. But, of course, you do want $300, and these drivers are going to go all out for the race win. Going to have a race restart inside 6 laps to go. Dean Gagliano, the leader for the first time tonight. Justin Rideout in 2nd place. Matthew Dula in 3rd. 4th to Ryan Johnson. 5th to Joshua Suss in the 14. Then Jason Tamer, P6. First driver on the freshest set of fuel topping off. Jake Bustos is 7th. Michael Larch in 8th. Luke Smith in 9th, and Bo Tiffany finally on the lead lap again, rounds out the top 10. Single file restart at the top end of the speedway. Pace truck is down, 6 to go, and Gagliano has the field to command back under green. Looks like the 18 gets a good run into the first corner. They're still getting up through the gears. And the one machine of Rideout is going to hang back. All of them dart to the inside. Dula's looking at the top. He goes for it. He gets the door shut by Rideout. And the leader gets left all by himself on the inside. Right out to the lead.
Right out certainly to the lead with the help of Dula, but I've got my eye on this car right here. Jason Tamer, he's the first car that we know is good on fuel.
The 17 is going to make a run for it in that GameStop Chevrolet. Ryan Johnson in the Oreo car behind. 5 cars at the top. It looks like 4 cars on the bottom. This time, 5 to go from Daytona.
Dula up top, Ride Out down below. Who's going to have the best organization? We've seen it all night. The bottom lane is the place to be, but the top lane can carry some incredible top-end speed.
Well, we know how good Jason Tamer and Justin Rideout have been, but now Rideout's going to get left for dust in the sucker hole. Middle, 3 wide, battle for the lead ongoing into turn 3.
Oh, and you see what happens when all your friends push you off the top of the playground. Rideout all the way to the caboose.
At the stripe, 4 laps to go from Daytona in the admin box 250. Matthew Dula still trying to nab the race lead away from Jason Tamer, that Taco Bell Chevrolet, who holds out at front. The GSRC car of Michael Larch takes over second on the inside lane. Still 4 cars on the bottom, or rather 4 cars on the top, more cars on the bottom, and the 81 has control on the back straightaway.
I've got my eye on that bottom lane, the 2 and the 81. Larch has been one of the best pushers all night, and he is hooked up, pushing Tamer, but here is also Ryan Johnson and Dula on the outside, trying to make it a drag race.
Shades of the beginning portion of the race. Tamer's in the wall, hard into the safer barrier. They catch Ryan Johnson, and that's a pivotal cost him with 4 laps to go. The leader involved in it.
Oh, that was the second time we've seen just the outside lane maybe get a little bit too greedy, squeezing down to the bottom on the side draft, making contact with what is the right rear quarter panel of our leader.
And you look at that, the contact, the 17 gets down as he's trying to side draft the 81, and that's the biggest crash we've seen tonight. As there's the 14, Joshua Suss involved. Now Tamer does have a faster pair that he can still use. That is the hardest hit we've seen tonight. It did go to Spencer Brown at first. Here's a look from Suss. And there's the contact entering turn 3, which sets the whole thing off.
You're going to see that, yeah, just got down too low, whether the car got loose on him or whatever happened. He crowded that bottom lane just too much, made contact, and when you have somebody push on your right rear quarter panel when you're down low, there's no saving it.
That's what we call the big one at these super speedways. Even though we've got a rather short field, there's Ryan Johnson who gets turned. He thought he might have been able to get away from it all. And then there's the 17 of Matthew Dula, who drops back to 11th place, and he does use the faster pair, and the same goes for Jason Tamer. I mean, they had to use it at this stage of the race if they want to have a shot at winning this deal. Cam Barnes' view from 8th place.
Whew. And you know what? This is a lifesaver for a couple cars. Cam Barnes as well as Luke Smith. Got to remember, Cam Barnes was given an EOL penalty just not too long ago. Same thing with Luke Smith, and now I believe they're both almost in the top 5.
Yeah, Cam Barnes is just on the outskirts of it. He's P6. Luke Smith is right behind the leader. There's Dean Gagliano in the number 18. Looks like he visits pit road. Ryan Johnson does as well. Not surprising to see those two down there just getting damage repair. And Justin Rideout towed that car to pit road. He brought it down there on his own accord. He is 12th, and so he will try and get that car repaired. He will not elect for the faster pair, though. He's going to stick it out and wait as long as he can. And Joey, you just brought it out on the broadcast chat. And a perfect note at this time of the race, we are extending it past scheduled distance at 100 laps, our first of 2 GWC attempts.
And I'm looking at the fuel remaining in most of these cars. I think everybody's going to be good to go. We were wondering about the fuel conservation. It looks like everybody has come down, at least put some type of fuel more in the car now.
So they've checked that box. No more concerns about whether they can make it on fuel. But the concern is about how they're going to race each other to the end. Michael Larch will have the control on the restart. And remember, this is all single file on the outside. All the lap cars will be on the bottom, but the only lap car for now is Robert Easley, who's 2 laps down in 14th, and Justin Rideout. Not sure whether he's going to go a lap down or whether he's going to rejoin the track. He is still on pit road with 1 minute and 27 seconds counting on his time repairing the Gen 4 machine. So if he joins back out on the track, he will be the only one with Robert Easley as those on the inside for the restart. But everyone else, Joey, is going to be on the very top. What we've seen before, the leader get jumped by second on back. Can we see the same now in this first attempt?
And I've got my eye on Rideout right now because here comes the pace truck. Looks like Justin is going to go that 1 lap down to the field, so taking extensive repairs. And to talk about what you just mentioned, yes, we have seen the leader get jumped because you see the cars behind use the draft, use the momentum, jump down to that bottom groove. However, it's usually that third car in train. He gets to pick. Where does he want to go? Does he want to follow down low, or does he want to go and help up top to the original leader? I'd watch out for who's going to be pushing the most.
And if you're Michael Larch, you probably don't like the situation you're in because you're in the catbird seat. You have to set the tone for the restart. Everyone behind you is going to have to try and jump you as much as they can. And we've seen a lot of great teamwork tonight, but now we're seeing a little more diversity through the field with Luke Smith, Jake Bustos, Bo Tiffany, all of them back in the game. So explain the green-white checkered attempts as we are getting to our first. So we will have this restart with 2 laps to go. We'll try to end this race under green. If a caution does come out before the leader gets to the white flag, we'll do it all over again, and we have those 2 attempts to end this race. If the leader does get to the white and no caution comes out on the speedway in that span, then we would just race it all the way to the checkered flag. No matter what happens, the final option, which hopefully is not the one that we see tonight from Daytona, is that if our 2 green-white checkered attempts are used up, the last caution that comes out on the last attempt before the white flag, if whoever's in the lead gets the caution and is in the race lead, then they win this race. $300 again given to the winner of tonight's admin box, $250. All right, Michael Larch, the race leader. Pace truck will make the left onto pit road with 2 laps to go. And we'll see exactly what happens and who makes the risk for the $300. Michael Larch at discretion going into the restart zone, and we are back underway for what might be the final time from Daytona Beach, Florida.
A really big jump from our top 3, Larch, Smith, and Bustos. It's Bo Tiffany that's got the little bit of gap between. I'm not seeing anybody be able to move down, jump our leader this time. It's going to be single file.
Well, for the leader, he's got a decent gap to Luke Smith and Jake Bustos, but they're not going to work together. They're going to be side by side for the 2nd place spot on the back straightaway. And who does this help? Joey Atterbury, the drivers behind in 4th on back. Bo Tiffany has help. They've got a big run to the leaders entering turn 3.
Look at the 35 with all of this momentum. He's going to jump up top now. Think twice about it. We're going to go 3 wide here in turn 3. Jake Bustos getting swallowed up.
He's in the sucker hole. Cam Barnes somehow shoots up to the top 3. He's going to try to make a move for 2nd. White flag in the air, and this race will go to the end. We are almost 4 wide at the back end of the field, and Michael Larch still has the lead. Bustos to the top, 3 wide.
Can it be Cam Barnes, who spent the first half a lap down, that comes back and wins this race? Right now, it's Larch being pushed by Smith on the bottom.
This is the closest that we have seen the field all night long. Tamer giving the push to the 7 car to give him the lead, entering turns 3 and 4 for the final time. We are gridlocked all the way through Daytona. Contact, leaders in the wall. Luke Smith finds himself lonely at a turn 4. Spencer Brown has a shot at the win, but Luke Smith is going to win barely at the line as he takes the admin box 250.
Wow, what a finish. A huge wreck coming out of turn 4, but ultimately it is the crush machine crushing the competition.
Luke Smith gets turn entering the trial to the line, and by 1/10 of a second, the 39 car wins and captures $300. Joshua Suss in the 14 is second place. Ryan Johnson third. Jason Tamer fourth. And what a way to end it, Joey. We thought it was going to end on strategy. It's a green-white checkered attempt instead. And we were 3 wide almost all the way to the end, and the 39 takes it.
My goodness. I mean, and I thought Jason Tamer, I mean, he came home P4. Larch was down there. 3 wide. I just can't say enough about the end of the race. I thought we were going to have a fuel strategy game, and then we got a GWC excitement to the max.
I'm sure Smith cannot capture the emotions of winning that race in that fashion. We'll try and see if we can look at the last lap once more. And there's Ryan Johnson to help the celebrations of the Crush Machine. The Camaro takes the admin box to 50 and gets $300 to his bank account. What a win by Luke Smith at the end. Was in 2 incidents earlier tonight, but he never gave up, and that relentless attitude is what gives him the checkered flag tonight. Man, what a race. We saw a lot of it here from Daytona, and here's a look, Joey, at that last lap where Michael Larch was leading, and all of a sudden they made it 3 wide, top to bottom.
I just think it was that outside lane coming down again on the inside lane, just trying to crowd, trying to side draft, and ultimately tried to take a little bit too much room. The 7 and the 2 make contact, and that just cascades a wreck that really collects the majority of this field here in turn 3.
Cam Barnes spearheading 3 wide through the middle with help from the 81, and right here's where the contact is made. Barnes gets into the quarter panel of Larch, sends him into the outside wall, and then up into the wall goes Tamer, Tiffany. Final run into the trial. Spencer Brown, who was also a lap down in this race, had a shot. He crossed him over, but it was too little too late. Despite the contact, Luke Smith, who was sideways at the start-finish line, wins tonight's admin box 250. The 39 continue celebrations. We'll have post-race coverage on the other side here on GSRC, but you're not going to miss any of the coverage of the Rolling Thunder Racing Series from Daytona.
It looks like he's got it.
Well, he's got a lot of speed, but he's boxed up. Can he find an opening? No, he's going to have to push his way through.
Now he's going to go for that big run again.
3 wide going into turns.
High line, right off the corner.
Oh, man.
He's up to 4th place already.
They're still going to be side by side.
And he's going to have to back out. Oh, he gets help. He gets turned around in a big moment.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Just wrapping up the admin box 250 from the Daytona International Speedway, where Luke Smith gets $300 richer after winning by 1/10 of a second at the line, sideways over the 88 of Spencer Brown. It looks like he got disqualified for incidents out on the track. Joshua Suss is officially credited the second place finish. Ryan Johnson is third place at the end of it all. Fourth place goes to the Taco Bell Chevrolet of Jason Tamer, so all four of them get cash prizes at the end of tonight's race. Matthew Dula tried his hardest to win it at the end, but could not. He closes out with the top 5 nonetheless. Ryan Perron was a lap down for a majority of this race, comes back to 6th place. Dean Gagliano in the 18 car is 7th. 8th place goes to the bright green car of Jake Bustos. Bo Tiffany in 9th place, and then rounding out the top 10, Joey Atterbury, the leader before the end of this race, Michael Larch in the 2 car.
Yeah, just trouble for Michael Larch. And then here in 11th, we have Cam Barnes, who is also fighting for that win. Ultimately, Spencer Brown comes home 12th. He's going to be scored 1 lap down, basically, from that incident limit. Robert Easley 2 laps down. Justin Wright out there 4 laps down. Then the rest are DNFs on the racetrack. David Duke, Michael Gitchell, and company.
So that's your field here from Daytona International Speedway, and let's join Victory Lane. And we have the 39 of Luke Smith, the winner here in this Admin Box 250. Luke, you are $300 richer. You win tonight's race in stunning fashion. Just talk us through that last lap, because I imagine you were second car on the inside. You probably were not expecting it to go haywire like that, but you end up winning this race in an insane way.
Oh, well, you see, I saw the outside, had a massive run after the restart, and I thought, let's just be selfless. Let's, at least attempt to get second place and just push the guy in front of me. And I guess sometimes being selfless pays off, because all the craziness happened on the outside of me, and all I know is the car in front of me got wrecked, and I'm just like, the sea is parted, and there I go for the finish line, and threw a little bit of a late block there at the end, but, got to do it in fashion, spin across the finish line. But that was a fun race. Went from, I think, 10th place on the next to last restart to second, and then from second to the win on the final lap there. So that was crazy. It was awesome. So much fun.
Nothing like being sideways coming to the start finish line at the end of it all. But Luke, that you were single file right behind the race leader, and previously in the race, you were involved in 2 incidents, but somehow you managed to find yourself in a good position in those final laps on that green-white checkered attempt. What's going through your mind at that exact moment where you're in those last 2 laps, you're coming to the green flag, and you've got the leader right in front of you?
Well, the strategy was hoping that he stayed high, and he didn't. And then I got behind him, and I saw the run from behind. I saw Dula. I think it was Dula and Ryan Johnson and all them. I saw them coming with a massive head of steam, and I knew if I threw a block, I was probably going to get wrecked. So instead of throwing the block, I just said, I'm going to push the 2 car and hope the 2 car gets enough speed to be able to get up to the front and stay up front. And I got him just fast enough that when Cam and Dula and all them came up front, that he was just fast enough that we were able to hang 3 wide. And it's Daytona. When you go 3 wide there, I knew that there was going to be a wreck. I just didn't know where it was going to happen, and I'm glad it didn't involve me. But my luck wasn't with me tonight, so I thought it was going to involve me. But still, I'm glad it didn't.
It's an immense comeback here at Daytona, and again, like I said, you got $300 at the end of this race. How good does it feel to not only come away with a win in that way, but to also know that you're winning $300 as a part of tonight's race?
Oh, it's great. I'm so excited. Get to go out for dinner tomorrow night.
I was gonna say, what were you gonna spend with that $300 after winning it?
Well, I'm gonna celebrate. Probably just go get dinner. Do something nice. Just have fun. Rub it in Ryan's face, because Ryan's the one that got me to do this race. But he still walks away with something, so not really that upset for him. He wins too much anyways. I'm just probably gonna have fun with it. Probably go get dinner with the lady tomorrow night.
All right, sounds good. $300 richer after this race win from Daytona. Before we let you go, Luke, anyone you want to thank for tonight's race?
I want to thank you guys for broadcasting. It'll be fun to go back and watch it. I'd like to thank the admins of this. I believe it's a league that's starting up and all that. It was really fun. It felt like a composed environment, and it felt like something that can develop and grow. I'd like to thank I race for a team called Purple Frog Sim Sports. I am the Purple Frog. I'd like to thank Ryan Johnson for getting me into this race. I'd like to thank Cam Barnes for working with me. And I don't know who else to thank. Just everyone around. John Gambit Designs. He makes my paint schemes. He does a great job.
Well, that Crush car looked good under the lights here at Daytona, and that Purple Frog definitely sipping some of the champagne, I'm sure, in victory lane. Luke, we appreciate the time as always. Congratulations on the win in this Admin Box 250, and we'll see you then. Congratulations once more.
Awesome. Thank you.
So that's Luke Smith, driver of the 39, came back from 2 on-track incidents in the race and is all the way in victory lane with a way to win it in those last couple of laps. We'll talk to the driver who comes home in second place. That is Joshua Suss, and he's joined by Joey Atterbury.
Joshua Suss, congratulations on the second place and taking home $150 tonight.
Thank you.
Well, we're looking at the replay here of turns 3 and 4, and talk me through it, because going into the final 2 turns, you were the last car on the racetrack in terms of track position.
Yeah, that last caution, we collected all 3 of our team members and put us in the back, and I kind of was just, I knew there was going to be another one, so I kind of wanted to hang out. I had a shot to go fully down the middle in 3 wide, but I didn't feel it. I wanted that inside to have an escape route, and it worked out in the end.
Well, it did work out for you. Did you think that something like that was going to happen in front of you coming to the checkered?
I had a feeling. I didn't think I'd go from last to second, but...
Well, hey, you know what? Sometimes things seem to work out, and you got to give yourself a little bit of credit out there.
Oh, the real credit goes to Dula and Ryan, because they were the strategic guys the entire race. This is when we're going to pit. Every lap was calling out how much gas we had left. Like it all goes to them, really. They got me to the right place at the right time.
Well, then let's talk about your winnings, because you did cross the field in second place there. That's $150 to your name. You planned in any sim upgrades over there?
Oh, I wish. The sim upgrade I want is way more than $150, though.
Well, what are you going to do with the winning?
Oh, I just got engaged, so might take her to a dinner.
You know what? Happy wife, happy life. That is certainly the way to go about it. Joshua Suss with a great second place run today.
Thank you.
So that's Joshua Suss, driver of the 14, who gets $150. Let's talk to Ryan Johnson, driver of the 38 Oreo Chevrolet, who wraps up the podium top 3 here from Daytona. Ryan, 8th place at the drop of the green flag on that first and only green-white checkered attempt. 3rd place at the start-finish line to end it. What was that restart like for you?
It's play racing. I don't know what better way to put it. Yeah, me and my team, we kind of got screwed up on that last wreck, and we were just trying to find each other and trying to go somewhere, but we were 3 wide and there was really no way through, so we just kind of settled, and then people started crashing and it moved to the middle. It looked like that'd be open, and then they wrecked again in front of me, and I went to the middle again, and yeah, we just kind of ended up 3rd. I don't know what happened.
It feels like that's the consensus for a lot of drivers to finish well in this race, just because there were 3 wide all over the place. But I want to talk about the incident that got you almost out of this race completely a little earlier on. You were running up at the front. All of a sudden, Matthew Dula makes contact with the leader. You get caught up into the outside wall out of turn 4. What was going through your head at that point, and how did you find a way to stay in the game and stay relentless despite the problems a little bit earlier?
I mean, just kind of got to shake it off and recover. Just not let it get to you. I mean, the car wasn't damaged, and kind of all I could say. I mean, it was just head down, and me and Dula work really, really good together on in pretty much any car on plate tracks. I don't know what it is, but we usually have really good chemistry. There's a couple other drivers I've ran really good with tonight, like Luke. I just want to say he's greasy, by the way. Yeah, no, it didn't affect us that much, and we were able to come back and have a strong finish. I was, I don't know.
Well, we won't relate the message to Luke Smith, so I guess he won't find out unless he watches the broadcast a little later on tonight or maybe tomorrow. But you win $100 as a part of finishing third place here in this Admin Box 250. We've asked the top two, so it's only fair that we ask you as well. $100 to your credit. Is there anything that you're going to be spending that $100 on, or you're going to be saving it? What are you going to be doing with the cash prize that you gained from tonight's race?
I'll probably be saving it for a little while, and if something comes up and money's tight, well, goes to that.
All right, we'll try to be economically smart about it. Ryan Johnson, hell of a third place finish here from Daytona. Great way to wrap it all up, and it was awesome watching the Oreo car out on the racetrack. Before we let you go, anybody you want to thank for tonight's phenomenal run?
Yeah, Justin for putting this on, and the new league coming up. You guys for broadcasting. I'm excited to go back and watch it. My teammates and all of the guys that joined that I tried to come and run with us. Tonight, Dula and Josh were my teammates, so they did pretty good. We got two of us in the top three, and congrats to Luke. All the drivers that came out. It was a really good race. We had very little cautions, and everybody tuning in and watching us have fun with our racing.
Well, it was a lot of fun watching you out on track for sure, Ryan. On behalf of our broadcast team, congratulations on the top three finish, and we hope to see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
So that's Ryan Johnson, driver of the 38. It took a lot in me not to make a Save That Money reference to that song by Lil Dicky and Fetty Wap. But nonetheless, we'll talk to the fourth place finisher. That is the 81 of Jason Tamer, Joey Atterbury.
Jason Tamer, congratulations on the fourth place finish here tonight.
Thank you. That was a fun race.
It was an incredibly fun race to call from the booth here, and I gotta say, this number 81 Taco Bell car provided us some incredible excitement. You drove through the field a couple times. What was it like out there for you?
Yeah, I didn't have any teammates, so I was trying to find someone I could work with, someone that wasn't moving around too much. I worked my way to the front a few times. I didn't qualify like I needed to, but I got junked a couple times there too, and I was able to recover from that. But it got really interesting when everyone started saving fuel. That really threw a curveball into things. But then that final caution came out, and everyone was able to regroup.
Yes, let's touch on that because we haven't talked about it to the podium finishers. When you guys were all saving fuel out there, there was a point that you just said, the heck with this. And I think I saw you just drive by the entire field on the back straightaway. What did that feel like?
Yeah, I mean, they were still saving fuel, but I was kind of trying to time it to where if I could maybe save a lap less than they were trying to save and get back up to where I was, because when you're in the back, the checkups are obviously bigger. So I could save a little more back there. And I think I timed it pretty decent. I would have made it back to the line on fumes. But that's pretty much where that came from. I was just trying to time it right.
Last question I have for you is, what is the mindset like after you're involved in a wreck that's so late? You only have a green-white checker to recover from it, yet you still end up here with a top five. What does it take to keep your head in the game?
Get a good restart. Yeah, I mean, it's. I was really hoping that they'd wad up in the front, and they did. And when we took the white, I really didn't know whether to take the middle or the outside. And the outside, I don't know why, but for some reason it took so much to get it going tonight. So I kind of just stuck with the middle. And I think I got a little net coated coming out of Fort to take the checker there, but it all worked out at the end. I guess that I did end up trying to I did miss that final wreck, but it net coated me and the car below me. So we both ended up in the fence.
Well, Jason, once again, congratulations on the fourth place, taking home $50 tonight. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
The league, actually. This league's really fun. I guess it's just starting up. So definitely gonna join the future races. And you guys are broadcasting. Can't wait to check it out after we get out here.
Well, that was Jason Tamer sneaking by for a fourth place finish.
Jason Tamer survives, even though he did get a piece of the outside wall out of turn 4 on the last lap. The top 4 get cash prizes, but it's all Luke Smith who gets the $300 and wins tonight's Admin Box 250. Just a reminder that if you enjoyed all of the action out on track tonight, well, this action continues here from Daytona as the Rolling Thunder Racing Series gets the engines fired up and kicks off their season on October 1st. So still a lot of time if you are interested in signing up for a very fun Gen 4 Series League. So you can visit rollingthunderracingseries.com to sign up today. Joey, right before we close off our broadcast from Daytona, what a race. I mean, we talked about endlessly that strategy race. We thought they were going to run out of fuel to the line. We do get a green-white checkered attempt, and although it soiled that possibility of a strategy race to the end, we saw 3-wide action all throughout the field and a great finish to close off a fun night from the World Center of Racing.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what the Rolling Thunder series produces, because if it's anything like this Admin Box 250, they've got some great races upcoming.
Certainly going to be a lot of fun when the Rolling Thunder Racing Series kicks off this fall. We certainly appreciate all those that tuned in to the Admin Box 250 right here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We do have a lot more broadcasts for you on the way, but it's Luke Smith who enjoys the victory now on this broadcast tonight. We got to thank everybody who made this happen, for all of those at the Rolling Thunder Racing League, and for our crew on the broadcast tonight, for our producer Ryan Bauer, our camera creator Dougie Beard, and for my colleague in the booth Joey Atterbury. My name is Kenneth Bueno, saying so long from Daytona. Make sure you continue tuning into the Global Sim Racing Channel so you won't miss a moment, but we'll see you then from Daytona.
He's got a lot of speed, but he's boxed up. Can he find an opening? No, he's going to have to push his way through.
Now he's going to go for that big run again.
3 wide going into turns.
High line, right off the corner.
Oh, man.
He's up to 4th place already.
They're still going to be side by side.
And he's going to have to back out. Oh, he gets help. He gets turned around in a big moment. Oh.